Introduction. If you are reading this, you may already know what it feels like to live inside a storm, not a gentle rainstorm, but an intense emotional whirlwind that can change direction without warning. One moment, there's hope, laughter, and connection. The next, a sharp wind of sadness, anger, or fear knocks you off your feet. You might have been told that you are too sensitive or overreacting. Perhaps at times, even you begin to wonder if your feelings are simply too much for the world to hold. Borderline personality disorder, BPD, is more than just a diagnosis. It's an experience lived in the depths of emotion, where pain and longing often collide with love and fear. If you have BPD, suspect you might, or find yourself lost in similar patterns of emotional intensity and relationship struggles, this book is here to meet you exactly where you are. And if you are someone who loves, lived with, or cares for a person with BPD, you probably carry your own mix of confusion, compassion, and exhaustion, trying so hard to make sense of their world and your place within it. Whatever brings you here, know that you are not alone. And, perhaps, more importantly, there is nothing wrong with you. Let's start by acknowledging one important truth. Emotional suffering does not make you broken, weak, or unlovable. The experience of BPD is not a personal flaw or a moral failing. It is, in many ways, a survival strategy, a way of adapting to a life that has rarely felt safe, stable, or predictable. For many people with BPD, early experiences of loss, rejection, trauma, or instability taught their nervous systems to remain alert and on edge, bracing for the next wave of threat or abandonment. The result? A life lived on high alert, where feelings run hot and fast, and relationships feel urgent, vital, and sometimes terrifying. Unfortunately, public understanding of BPD often lags behind reality. Media portrayals tend to reduce it to a stereotype, manipulative, attention-seeking, unstable, or impossible to love. These labels are deeply unfair and only add to the shame so many people with BPD already carry. The truth is, BPD is a set of patterns of feeling, thinking, and relating that develop as understandable attempts to cope with overwhelming internal distress. At its core, BPD reflects a struggle to accept oneself amid chaos, to forge genuine connections without losing oneself, and to find steady ground when every emotion feels as if it might swallow you whole. For those who love someone with BPD, compassion can coexist with frustration and fatigue. Maybe you've witnessed rapid shifts from warmth to withdrawal, felt helpless during emotional outbursts, or struggled to set boundaries while waiting to be supportive. You may worry about enabling harmful patterns or fear that anything you say could trigger a spiral. Most likely, you desperately want to help, but find yourself caught between protecting your loved ones and preserving your own well-being. This book offers tools to support both, so you don't have to choose between caring for them and caring for yourself. If all of this sounds painfully familiar, you're in the right place. And if you are still uncertain whether BPD fits, if you wrestle with emotions that feel outsized, a fragile sense of self, or waves of emptiness that no one seems to understand, these pages are for you too. Whether you have a formal diagnosis, suspect you fit somewhere along the spectrum, or simply want to understand yourself or your loved ones better, this book welcomes you without judgment or prerequisites. Before we dive in deeper, let's clarify what BPD actually means in clinical and everyday terms. Clinically, BPD is described as a pervasive pattern of intense, unstable emotions, a shifting sense of identity, impulsive behaviors, and turbulent relationships that make it challenging to trust oneself and others. Lived experience, however, often includes nuances that textbooks miss: the desperate attempt to escape loneliness, the gnawing anxiety that everyone you care about will eventually leave, the guilt after unattended outbursts, and the haunting fear that your real life is invisible or unworthy. What is commonly misunderstood is that these patterns do not stem from a lack of willpower or desire to create chaos. Rather, they are rooted in a nervous system on constant alert, shaped by early wounds or ongoing stress. People with BPD are not manipulative by nature. They are often extremely sensitive, attuned to subtle changes in tone or gesture, and deeply hungry for reassurance and safety. The mood swings, impulsivity, and self-doubt are not choices, but reactions to a world that feels painfully unpredictable. Why does this book matter? Because too often, people with BPD are left feeling hopeless, isolated, or ashamed. Standard advice can feel dismissive or overly complicated. Just regulate your emotions or set boundaries, without explaining how to do this when your inner world feels like an earthquake zone. Therapies like dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, are proven to help, but they can be hard to access, time-consuming, and full of jargon. Many books and resources speak in clinical language or seem aimed at therapists, not the people living through these experiences every day. There is a desperate need for clear, accessible, compassionate guidance, something practical enough to use in daily life, yet deep enough to honor the real pain and complexity of BPD. This is that book. You won't find shaming labels or cold checklists here. Instead, you'll find validation. Your emotions make sense. Your pain is real. Change is possible. Not because you are broken and must be fixed, but because you deserve peace and fulfillment. We will walk through the ups and downs of BPD together, exploring why relationships are so turbulent, how to manage emotional overwhelm, and ways to nurture a sense of self-worth and calm. Alongside this, we'll offer practical strategies for handling crises, communicating needs, and setting boundaries that protect both you and your relationships. You will also hear stories, composite and anonymized, from people who have walked this path before you. Their journeys show you that dramatic mood swings, intense attachment, or self-destructive urges do not have to define your future. Real hope lies in small steps, learning new skills, finding moments of self-compassion, rebuilding trust after conflict, and believing that stability is not just for other people, but possible for you too. If you are supporting someone with BPD, you'll find tools for understanding what they are up against, as well as guidance to avoid burnout and resentment. You will learn practical ways to de-escalate arguments, set healthy limits, and communicate your own needs with clarity and kindness. Above all, you'll discover that supporting someone with BPD doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being or accepting unacceptable behavior, but rather learning how mutual respect and healthy boundaries make true connection possible. And if you're reading this because you see pieces of yourself reflected in descriptions of emotional sensitivity or identity struggles, know that you are welcome here as well. You do not need a label to seek healing or understanding. High sensitivity, chronic dysregulation, and struggles with self-acceptance touch many lives in different ways. The tools and insights offered in these pages will help anyone yearning for greater self-understanding, emotional resilience, and healthier relationships. This book is designed for real life, not just therapy rooms or academic discussions. You don't need a background in psychology, a perfect childhood, or the approval of others to start changing your relationship with yourself. Here, you are invited to approach your emotions with curiosity, not criticism. You will learn to decode what your feelings are trying to tell you, practice skills to manage intense moments, and build habits that move you closer to the life you want. Most of all, this book is an invitation to hope. Emotional storms can pass. Healing is possible. You are not defined by your worst moments or your hardest days. Together, let's step into a new way of understanding and living with BPD, one marked by compassion, possibility, and the belief that you deserve to feel at home in your own mind and heart. Chapter 1. Understanding Borderline Personality Disorder. "Why won't you just answer me?" Sarah whispered into her phone, heart pounding as she stared at the blank screen. Minutes felt like hours, each silence louder than the last. She replayed every word she'd sent, searching for a clue, a mistake that might explain the distance growing between her and her closest friend. Panic crept in like a storm, twisting her thoughts into knots. Was she too much? Did she drive them away? The fear was overwhelming, real, and crushing. However, this fear remained invisible to everyone outside of her mind. Moments like this, full of shifting feelings and endless questions about who she really is and whether she matters, are the everyday reality for many living with borderline personality disorder. This chapter invites you to walk through those swirling emotions and stories, to gently explore what BPD feels like beneath the surface and uncover truths often hidden by misunderstanding and stigma. Defining BPD and its roots. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD for short, is a mental health problem that affects every part of life. If you live with BPD or love someone who does, you might notice how intensely emotions swing, how quickly moods can change, and how relationships sometimes feel like a roller coaster. These experiences are not a sign of weakness, but part of a pattern that many people around the world share. BPD does not define a person's value or their capacity for happiness, but understanding its traits can make life a little less confusing and a lot more manageable. BPD is marked by a few core characteristics. These do not always show up in the same way or with the same intensity for everyone. Imagine BPD as a spectrum, where one person might have some traits strongly and others very mildly, and another person's experience might look entirely different. The common ground, though, is that daily life can feel unpredictable and intense. Emotional sensitivity and intensity are at the heart of BPD. Everyday feelings can feel enormous, as if the volume knob is always turned up. For example, a casual comment from a coworker might leave you feeling deeply hurt, even if it was not meant negatively. In positive moments, happiness or excitement can also feel overwhelming. These emotions might last longer than they do for others, making it hard to calm down or move on quickly. Another key feature is a deep fear of abandonment. This is not about being dramatic or needy, but about relationships genuinely feeling at risk, sometimes even from minor disagreements or brief silences. If someone important to you cancels plans, a simple text is left unanswered, or a partner goes quiet, it can suddenly trigger panic and anxiety. You might worry, are they leaving me? Did I do something wrong? This fear can shape how you interact, sometimes leading you to reach out for reassurance or, at other times, pull back to avoid getting hurt. Identity challenges are another common part of BPD. It might feel like your sense of self changes depending on your environment or who you are with. Some days, you might feel sure about your likes, dislikes, and goals, while on other days, you feel like a stranger to yourself. For instance, you might be passionate about a hobby for a week, then suddenly lose interest or question if it even fits you. This shifting sense of identity can be confusing and exhausting, both for you and for those close to you. Relationship patterns often follow an intense and turbulent cycle. You might find yourself idolizing someone new, feeling deeply connected and certain they are essential to your happiness. But a small disappointment may shatter that feeling, leaving you feeling betrayed or let down. Close friendships or romantic connections may swing from feeling intensely close to painfully distant within a short time. This can make it hard to hold on to lasting relationships, even when you want to. Impulsivity is also a common trait, not because of poor decision-making, but more as a response to emotional pain or emptiness. You might spend money suddenly, binge eat, drive too fast, or act out in ways that provide instant relief, but may later leave regret or guilt behind. Picture having a stressful day at work and heading straight for an expensive shopping spree, or starting arguments with friends for reasons you can't always explain. These moments usually pass quickly, but their impact can linger. Anyone can see themselves in one or two of these traits sometimes. What sets BPD apart is the intensity, duration, and pattern across many areas of life. An official diagnosis usually involves speaking with a mental health professional who looks for a consistent pattern across many situations, not just a negative day or two. Diagnosis is about understanding feelings and experiences, not labeling. The complexity of BPD means that everyone's story is different, but you are never alone. These traits and patterns mean you can have strong relationships and achieve happiness. They simply mean you experience the world in a unique way. Gaining understanding is one small but powerful step towards self-compassion and meaningful change. Every experience, even when messy or painful, is valid and real. And you deserve kindness and support as you navigate life with BPD. The lived experience, recognizing patterns and emotions. Morning sunlight streams through the blinds. Sarah scrolls through her messages as she wakes up. Her phone is quiet. Yesterday, she sent a heartfelt text to her closest friend, who still has not replied. She starts to wonder if she did something wrong. Replaying their recent interaction with a microscopic focus, the stomach drop of panic sets in. What if her best friend is mad at her? The feeling is sharp and immediate, as if ice water had been poured into her veins. Thoughts gather speed. Maybe I talked too much about myself. Maybe I was annoying. Self-criticism tumbles out of control. She fights back the urge to send another message, but finally types, "Are you okay? Did I do something wrong?" Relief comes only with a quick reply. But in the quiet minutes before, Sarah feels abandoned and hollow, as if the world is tilting away from her. During the bus ride to work, Sarah plays out alternative scenarios in her mind. She worries her friend is lying about being busy. All day, doubts stick to her skin. Eye contact from others feels loaded with meaning, rejection, judgment, or disinterest. At her desk, she feels exposed, unsure of how to be, funny, serious, quiet. It is as if she is a radio quietly scanning for the right station, trying to tune into who she is supposed to be with each person she encounters. This constant adjusting leaves her exhausted before the afternoon even arrives. She is frustrated with herself for not having a clearer sense of who she is, and for how quickly her feelings shift in response to minor signals from others. Lunchtime comes, and Sarah's coworker, James, sits with someone else in the break room. The pit in her stomach deepens. She wonders if she did something to upset him. She replays their last interaction, searching for clues. The emotional wave builds fast. Anger flashes, masked by anxiety, and then shame. Why do I care so much? Why can't I just let it go? She berates herself. By the time she returns to her desk, she feels raw and on the verge of tears. Small frustrations, like accidentally deleting an email, suddenly feel enormous. Breathing tightens as she tries to hold it together. Sarah's thoughts become increasingly harsh. Everyone is getting tired of me. I am too much, too needy. These beliefs press down on her, urging her to withdraw and protect herself from more rejection. Her coping strategies vacillate. One moment, she is scrolling through social media, dissociating from the feelings. And the next, she is watching cat videos, trying desperately to self-soothe. Sometimes she writes in her journal, pouring out the pain in jagged sentences. Other times, she slips into old habits of self-blame, convinced she is unworthy of real connections. Later, a minor disagreement with her roommate about chores sparks a wildfire of emotion. Sarah's cheeks flush and her pulse races. Her thoughts distort her roommate's words, making them feel sharper and more dismissive than intended. She does not care about me, Sarah thinks. She probably wants me to move out. The fight-or-flight instinct trips. In the aftermath, she isolates in her room, bracing herself against an internal storm. She rehearses 1,000 possible responses and outcomes, fearing both confrontation and abandonment. By evening, Sarah's mood has swung from hope to despair and back. She wonders who she really is, feeling like her sense of self is always just out of reach. The mirror's reflection seems different each time, a stranger's face morphing with every emotion. She tries to define herself by her work, her friendships, her hobbies, but nothing feels solid. Waves of emptiness wash in as she considers all sides of every decision, never feeling rooted. As night falls, gentle self-care rituals help. A warm shower, her favorite tea, and the familiar embrace of a soft hoodie brings a little comfort. She texts her friend again, tentatively reaching for reassurance. Sometimes she can remind herself that feelings pass, and not every silence means abandonment. On better days, she finds comfort in music or grounding exercises, but often the intensity of her inner life feels lonely and misunderstood. Through these moments, Sarah's emotional experiences are vivid and demanding, shaped by deep yearning for connection and lasting comfort. Her reactions arise from wounds beneath the surface. She is not broken. Rather, she responds fiercely to pain and uncertainty. Each day is a challenge to navigate tides of feeling, and every small event carries the weight of a much bigger story. Dispelling myths and clarifying differences. Many people misunderstand borderline personality disorder, often believing harmful stereotypes without realizing the damage these beliefs cause. One of the most persistent myths is that people with BPD are manipulative or only seek attention. This idea likely comes from the intense emotions and urgent needs that people with BPD express during times of distress. For example, threats of self-harm or strong reactions to perceived rejection can be misread as manipulation. In reality, these are signs of pain and emotional overwhelm, not acts designed to control or exploit others. Research shows that people with BPD often feel emotions more intensely and have a harder time returning to a calm state after being upset. Their reactions are not schemes, but attempts to cope with deep inner turmoil. Another related belief is that people with BPD cannot be trusted in relationships or are purposely hurtful. Beneath rapid changes in mood and behavior lies a fear of abandonment or being misunderstood, not a wish to play games with others' feelings. Labeling these deeply personal experiences as manipulative dismisses the real suffering that people with BPD endure. When these stereotypes spread, they block empathy and sometimes keep people with BPD from reaching out for help due to fear of rejection or judgment. Sometimes people confuse BPD with other conditions, which adds more to the misunderstandings. Bipolar disorder, for instance, is often mentioned in the same breath as BPD, but the two are different. Bipolar disorder involves changes in mood that last for weeks or months, periods of deep sadness, followed by stretches of high energy or euphoria. BPD is marked by much quicker changes in emotions, often in response to events that trigger fears of being left out or abandoned. Imagine a person with BPD who feels deeply hurt after a friend cancels plans and, moments later, swings between sadness, anger, and longing, a shift that can happen in the span of an afternoon. In contrast, a person with bipolar disorder experiences mood episodes that are longer and less tied to specific situations. Another area of confusion lies in how some symptoms of BPD overlap with complex PTSD, like feeling empty, being suspicious of others' motives, or struggling with relationships. However, complex PTSD usually follows repeated long-term trauma, while BPD may develop for many reasons, including a mix of temperamental traits and life experiences. While these conditions can look similar, the origins and patterns differ. BPD can also be mistaken for other personality disorders, such as histrionic or narcissistic personality disorder. But BPD stands out because of how quickly emotions can change and how intense the fear of abandonment can feel. Everyday life with BPD is complicated, not just by symptoms, but by stigma. In both healthcare settings and society at large, people with BPD are frequently judged unfairly. A nurse might assume a person with BPD is being difficult, or friends may believe someone's urgent pleas for support are just exaggerations. This leads to poorer treatment by healthcare providers and missed opportunities for care. Many people with BPD report that doctors or therapists are less likely to work with them once a diagnosis is out in the open. Stigma in this context clearly gets in the way of healing, and studies show that people who face judgment or feel unwelcome are less likely to continue seeking help. Fortunately, research increasingly contradicts these negative beliefs. Recent studies show that people with BPD often respond well to therapy, especially when they find treatment that fits their needs. Dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT, for example, has been shown to reduce suicidal thoughts and hospitalizations by half or more. In one large study, over 75% of people with BPD who received comprehensive therapy saw their symptoms improve enough over 10 years that they no longer met the criteria for the disorder. This counters the myth that BPD is untreatable or always chronic. Many assume that those with BPD cannot have healthy relationships or that they never recover. In fact, people living with BPD can and do form long-lasting, loving connections, especially when they and their loved ones understand the nature of the disorder. With accurate information and support, people with BPD are not doomed to chaotic lives. Instead, they can build stability, develop skills for handling emotions, and create deep, meaningful ties with others. Learning the truth about BPD means moving past tired myths and respecting the resilience found in people who live with it. Recovery is possible, and compassion, both from others and from ourselves, make a difference. By separating facts from fiction, everyone benefits. Those in need of help feel safer reaching out, and those around them can offer smarter, more genuine support. Concluding thoughts. Now that we have gained a clearer understanding of what borderline personality disorder truly is, beyond the myths and misunderstandings, we can begin to approach it with more compassion and hope, recognizing the intense emotions, shifting identities, and deep fears that shape daily life with BPD helps us see these experiences as part of a complex but manageable pattern, not a personal failing. Whether you live with BPD or care deeply for someone who does, this knowledge opens the door to patience, empathy, and practical steps toward healing. With accurate information and support, it becomes possible to build stronger relationships, develop emotional tools, and reclaim a sense of self-worth and calm. Moving forward, let us carry these insights as a foundation for growth, knowing that recovery and meaningful connection are within reach. Chapter 2: Emotional Intensity and Dysregulation. What happens when everyday feelings become too big to handle? Why do small disappointments sometimes hit like a storm? And why do emotions spiral so quickly into shame or anger? For many people living with intense emotional experiences, these questions are more than curiosity. They are daily realities. Understanding why emotions can feel overwhelming and why certain fears seem to drive our reactions is a crucial step toward finding balance. This chapter takes a close look at the deeper reasons behind emotional intensity and offers ways to recognize and gently manage those powerful feelings, opening the door to greater calm and control. Why emotions feel overwhelming and the fear of abandonment. Everyday moments that seem insignificant to others can feel like emotional earthquakes to someone with borderline personality disorder, BPD. The heightened intensity of emotion does not happen by choice. It often begins deep in the brain, rooted in differences in both neurobiology and past personal experiences. At the neurobiological level, research shows that areas of the brain involved in emotional reactions, such as the amygdala, are more easily triggered and more active in people with BPD. This means emotional responses can start rapidly, sometimes in seconds, and reach a high peak very quickly. At the same time, the parts of the brain responsible for calming these emotions, such as the prefrontal cortex, have a harder time bringing things back down. This combination causes emptiness to not only surge faster, but also linger longer. Everyone feels upset when plans change suddenly, but for someone with BPD, a canceled lunch date may feel like a personal rejection that hurts deeply. The experience is not just emotional, it can feel physical, with a racing heart, a tightening in the chest, and tears before you even know why. This intensity is often confusing, especially when others look puzzled or dismiss reactions as over the top. What might look like an outburst to the outside world is usually a storm that started inside from a small spark. Psychological factors behind intense emotions. Beyond biology, many people with BPD grew up in environments where emotions were misunderstood, ignored, or punished. Over time, this shapes a person's beliefs about their own feelings and their ability to handle them. The mind becomes trained to spot possible signs of trouble or rejection everywhere, even in harmless situations, such as a friend taking too long to reply to a message, a partner looking away during a conversation, or a coworker's short comment. The emotional response might feel instant and powerful, sometimes seeming to come out of nowhere, but it makes sense when you understand that the brain is reacting to old wounds, not just the moment at hand. Ways emotional processing differs. There are 3 common differences in how emotions are processed. First, emotions start more quickly. Second, they reach a higher peak, feeling stronger, almost like a wave crashing. Third, it takes much longer for those feelings to fade, sometimes lingering for hours or even days. For many people, a bad mood passes after a short walk or a little distraction. With BPD, that upset can stick around, making it difficult to focus or enjoy anything else. Heightened sensitivity means that everyday occurrences can feel like personal attacks or proof that one is not valued. Even positive emotions, such as excitement at being invited somewhere, can flood the system and make someone feel out of control. When an argument begins, anger and sorrow may show up together, creating a tangle of strong feelings that are hard to sort out. Everyday life and relationships. Living with these emotional patterns can make daily life exhausting. At work, a small bit of feedback might trigger hours of worry about being fired. In friendships, any sign of withdrawal from others might lead to deep sadness or panic. From the outside, others might see these reactions as too much or dramatic. This misunderstanding can increase the feeling of being alone or different. It is important to remember, though, that nobody chooses these intense reactions. They are a product of how the brain and mind have learned to cope and protect. Loved ones may not always see how much effort it takes to hold emotions back, or how often someone with BPD is battling intense feelings without showing it. For those with BPD, managing these emotions can feel like balancing on a tightrope, hoping not to fall with every unexpected gust of wind. The role of the past. Many people with BPD have grown up feeling unsure if the people they love will leave or stay. Early experiences of abandonment, criticism, or emotional neglect plant seeds of fear that shape adult emotional responses. Even small disappointments can awaken old anxieties. The pain of being left, even for a brief moment, can seem unbearable, explaining why some reactions are so strong and urgent. Knowing that these emotional patterns come from deep roots may not make them easier to experience, but it can help to make sense of them. With understanding comes the possibility of gentler self-compassion and the hope that things can improve with support and strategies that honor these very real feelings. Shame, anger, and emotional whiplash. A soft comment or a casual remark can sometimes feel like thunder to someone living with borderline personality disorder, BPD. When a coworker suggests, Maybe next time, double-check your email. It might sound neutral or helpful, but for someone with BPD, that tiny seed of criticism can blossom into a storm of shame. Even if the intent was gentle, the reaction may seem sudden and out of proportion from the outside, yet inside, it is shaped by a long history of feeling misunderstood or unworthy. These emotional spirals do not start in the moment. They are powered by old scripts and memories, ready to take over with less warning. How shame and anger begin to spiral. Shame is a heavy feeling. In BPD, it often shows up quickly and fiercely. Suppose a person with BPD feels they made a mistake at work. Instead of thinking, everyone makes mistakes, the thought might spin into, I am a failure, I am unlovable, or I mess everything up. This self-criticism grows louder, making it hard to argue with or escape. The body might react too. Cheeks flush, heart pounds, and a sinking feeling appears in the stomach. The mind races with fear of being exposed, rejected, or abandoned. Soon, shame can twist into another powerful emotion, anger. This change might happen in seconds. When someone already feels raw and exposed, any hint of rejection or further criticism makes everything hurt worse. It feels like the world is piling on. Anger becomes a form of armor, shielding softness with spiky defensiveness. The anger is not always directed at the person who made the comment. Often, it is a loud protest against old wounds resurfacing. A partner coming home late may trigger a flood of memories of being left behind, leading to a fight that feels bigger than the situation would normally call for. Difference from typical emotional responses. Most people feel hurt if criticized and might grumble when plans get changed at the last minute. What sets BPD apart is the speed, depth, and endurance of these emotional spikes. Where another person might be annoyed and brush it off within minutes, someone with BPD may find their thoughts stuck on the perceived slight for hours, replaying everything and digging deeper into pain. There is a sense of being on an emotional roller coaster that starts from something small but quickly moves out of control. The thought processes can be all or nothing. If a friend cancels a plan, the immediate idea might be, they hate me, I must have done something wrong. This black and white thinking leaves little room for more gentle self-talk or the possibility of a neutral reason for the change. The emotional spiral keeps tightening. The role of triggers and trauma. Old traumas and repeated experiences of rejection or criticism prime the mind for overreaction. When someone has been hurt many times before, they start expecting it. Seemingly harmless situations, such as waiting for a text reply, seeing two friends laugh together, or being left out of a conversation, can feel like proof that abandonment or betrayal is on the horizon. The body remembers the panic or sadness from before, and the response comes even before the mind can name it. A trigger is anything that connects the present moment to a painful past. In daily life, every simple routine can set off spirals. Running late for an appointment, forgetting a wallet, or making a small error in a group project can bring up deeper worries of being rejected or punished. The fear is not just about the event, but about what it means for the person's worth. How shame and anger interact. Shame and anger are not separate. They feed each other. Shame turns inward, saying, I am bad, while anger turns outward, saying, you are wrong for making me feel this way. Both are powerful, and they often show up in quick succession. Sometimes, after an angry outburst, shame swoops in again, doubling the pain and confusion. This mix of hot anger and cold shame can leave a person feeling exhausted and alone. Personal and relationship impact. In relationships, these spirals create misunderstandings and distance. Partners, friends, and coworkers may feel like they are walking on eggshells. The person experiencing these spirals might regret actions or words and feel even more isolated afterward. Daily life becomes a series of emotional hurdles, never knowing when the next sharp curve will come. Being able to name and recognize these patterns is the first step toward change. Noticing the thoughts, "I always ruin things," the body cues, racing heart, sweaty palms, and the urge to lash out or withdraw can slowly build awareness. Understanding the roots of emotional spirals helps break the feeling of being out of control and bring hope that new patterns are possible. The window of tolerance, regulating emotional arousal. Imagine an inner comfort zone where emotions feel manageable and actions make sense. This zone, often called the window of tolerance, is where people think, feel, and cope at their best. For someone with BPD, the window can feel narrow, with sharp swings into feeling overwhelmed or shutting down. Stress, shame, and the fear of being abandoned can push someone out of this steady place before they even notice. Everyone's window looks and feels a bit different. When you are inside your window, you might feel steady, even during tough moments. Your breath is smooth, your chest feels open, and your mind is clear enough to make decisions. But as emotions surge, you might notice your heart racing, shoulders tightening, hands clenching, or trouble catching your breath. Thoughts can suddenly spin, such as, "No one cares about me," or "I'm about to lose control." Or you might feel numb, spacey, or disconnected, as if your feelings turn flat or nothing seems real. These are signs you are bumping against or slipping outside your window. Learning how to spot these changes is a powerful step. It means you can pause, notice, and find ways to return to a comfortable place. The next 2-step exercises help you tune into your body and practice simple tools to help you stay grounded, even when emotions grow strong. Exercise 1. Body scan for mapping your window. Purpose: to identify how your body and thoughts signal comfort, escalation, or shutdown. This helps you know when you are close to leaving your window of tolerance. Signs to monitor: notice steady or shifting breath. Feel for tension in your neck, jaw, or hands. Track fluttery stomach or sweaty palms. Check for thoughts speeding up or turning critical, or if you suddenly check out mentally. Grounding technique: settle into a quiet spot. Sit or lie still for 1 minute. Start at your toes and move upward, asking yourself, where do I feel tension first? Is my breath shallow or deep? Do I feel warm, cold, or tingly anywhere? Are my thoughts easy or heavy? Notice what feels neutral. Then think of a mild recent stress, just enough to stir emotion. Repeat the scan. If your breath shortens or chest tightens, this is your body's early alert. Remind yourself, these are clues, not verdicts. When and how? Use the scan each morning or before tough talks as part of your self-care. Shorten it for moments of stress and scan only the key tension zones if needed. Tracking effectiveness. Jot down patterns in a notebook or phone. Over time, look for what signals you are steadily within your window or when you might tip outside. Treat each entry as information, not a judgment. Real-world scenarios. After a sharp comment from a friend, notice whether tension goes to your jaw. Feel if your mind leaps to worst-case thoughts when you get a late reply from someone you care about. Track these and see if the body scan helps you pause before reacting. Exercise 2. Palm press breathing. Purpose: to quickly calm racing emotions using hands and breath so no one has to know you are doing it. Signs to monitor: feeling agitated, muscles tensing, breath getting fast, or mind flooding with worry or anger. Grounding technique: sit or stand with your feet flat. Press your palms together firmly, matching the pressure with steady breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Focus on the warmth where your hands touch, counting slowly to 4 as you inhale and 4 as you exhale. Repeat for 5 to 10 breaths. When and how? Practice during commutes, before arguments, or when shame or rejection spike. It works well during meetings, crowded spaces, or when a phone argument ramps up. Tracking effectiveness. Rate your tension before and after on a 1 to 10 scale. Notice if your breath slows, shoulders drop, or mind quiets. Make note of which settings work best for you. Real-world scenarios. Use palm press breathing while waiting for a reply after texting something vulnerable. Try it after an argument leaves you shaky or in the middle of an overwhelming spiral of shame. It can help you shift from feeling out of control to a steadier place, even for a few moments. Windows of tolerance look different each day. Sleep, food, stress, and daily events shape how wide or narrow yours feels. Practice these techniques when you are calm, such as during a morning routine or before stressful appointments, so they become second nature. Adapt techniques by making the palm press shorter or adding movement if sitting still is hard. Remind yourself that emotional intensity is part of being human. Inside or outside the window, noticing is the first step. Summary and reflections. Now that we understand how intense emotions, fear of abandonment, and the cycle of shame and anger shape daily life with BPD, we can begin to see these feelings not as flaws, but as signals from a brain and heart working hard to protect. Recognizing the patterns behind overwhelming emotions opens the door to greater self-compassion and hope. With practical tools like body awareness and simple grounding techniques, it becomes possible to widen your window of tolerance and find steadiness even amid emotional storms. Whether you are living with BPD or supporting someone who is, this knowledge empowers you to face difficult moments with patience and clarity, building a foundation for calmer, more connected days ahead. Chapter 3. Emotional Regulation Skills for BPD. Maya's emotions felt like a wildfire she couldn't control. One moment, she was laughing with friends. The next, a sudden wave of anger and sadness overwhelmed her, leaving her gasping for breath and desperate to escape. She wished she could press pause, find calm, or even understand why these intense feelings knocked her off balance so quickly. Instead, she found herself engulfed in an unpredictable and uncomfortable storm. For many living with borderline personality disorder, moments like this are all too familiar. Emotions can erupt suddenly, leaving little time for thought before reacting. The struggle to handle these powerful feelings can make everyday situations feel unpredictable and exhausting, not only for those experiencing them, but also for the people who care about them deeply. Understanding how to recognize these emotional waves as they rise is just the beginning of learning ways to navigate them with greater ease, patience, and hope. Immediate coping and trigger awareness. Emotions in borderline personality disorder can surge in without warning, flooding the mind and body like a tsunami. The heart pounds, fingertips tingle, thoughts either accelerate or completely stop. Vision narrows, while the urge to escape, react, or seek relief intensifies. In the middle of this emotional storm, it's difficult to remember you have tools. Grounding strategies offer a way to anchor you to the present, creating a brief pause that protects you while intensity passes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Sensory Awareness. This strategy brings you to your senses when you feel overwhelmed and disconnected from the present moment. Useful during heated work meetings, tense family dinners, or in the middle of a crowded store. Steps. Look for 5 things you can see. Name them aloud or silently. Notice 4 sounds you can hear. Feel 3 things with your body, maybe the chair under you, your watch on your wrist, air on your skin. Identify 2 smells, even if you have to move to notice them. Focus on 1 thing you can taste, like gum, coffee, or even the inside of your mouth. Expected sensations. Vision sharpens, bodily awareness grows, and physical space feels more defined. Signs it's working. Racing thoughts may slow, and the world feels less threatening. Challenges. When emotions run high, details are hard to notice. Modifications. Use fewer senses if rushed. For example, 3-2-1. Try in public by doing it quietly or journaling the answers on your phone. Temperature-based regulation. Sudden cold jolts your system, disrupting the emotional cycle and resetting your body's response. Ideal when heat or tears surge, such as on a break at work or alone in a bathroom. Steps. Run cold water over your hands and wrists. Hold an ice cube in your palm. Splash water on your face or neck. Expected sensations. Skin tingles and breathing slows. Signs it's working. The urge to cry, shout, or escape lessens. Challenges. Not always possible in public or without access to water. Modifications. Use a cold can from a vending machine or hold a cold drink against your cheek if ice isn't available. Deep pressure stimulation. Strong, gentle pressure can calm fight or flight instincts, offering a sense of safety, useful at home after an argument or when quietly seated in a meeting. Steps. Use a weighted blanket or heavy comforter. Press your palm firmly over your chest or thighs. Cross your arms and give yourself a gentle but secure hug. Expected sensations. Muscles relax, breath deepens, and energy settles. Signs it's working. Tension in the limbs fades, and the sense of urgency decreases. Challenges. Equipment may not be available. Modifications. Squeeze a rolled-up jacket or scarf, or apply firm pressure to your thighs under the table if seated. Rhythmic movement. Steady movement soothes nerves and channels excess energy, perfect when pacing or fidgeting becomes distracting at work, at home, or in transit. Steps. Rock gently in your chair. Walk at a steady pace, focusing on the pattern of your steps. Tap your fingers or sway your body in a repetitive motion. Expected sensations. Body finds a rhythm, anxiety lessens, thoughts align with movement. Signs it's working. Movements become slower and more controlled. Irritability drops. Challenges. Some spaces limit movement. Modifications. Use subtle tapping of toes or fingers if movement isn't possible. Anchor object focusing. Carrying a small object reminds you that safety and calm are possible, effective in triggering settings, waiting rooms, public parks, or standing in line. Steps. Grip a favorite token, stone, or keychain firmly. Notice the shape, texture, temperature, and any tiny details. Bring attention back to this object whenever distress rises. Expected sensations. Comfort from tactile focus, shifting attention from emotion to object. Signs it's working. The object feels realer, while distress feels more distant. Challenges. May forget to carry an anchor item. Modifications. Use clothing accessories, zippers, buttons, or jewelry if no object is handy. Recognition of triggers is the next step, building resilience before the emotional wave hits. Creating your personal emotional weather forecast means checking for early warning signs so you can prepare. Every storm starts with changes in the air. Emotional escalation mapping. Body signals inventory. Jot down tightening muscles, shallow breath, headaches, stomach aches, and flushed cheeks as signals your body gives before the storm grows. Thought pattern recognition. Notice when thoughts become black and white, self-critical, or intensely worried. Environmental trigger mapping. List situations, places, times of day, or people that often coincide with severe emotions. Early warning sign documentation. Record the first clues you notice, maybe snapping at questions or suddenly wanting to withdraw. Try the trigger tracking exercise. Rate physical sensations, butterflies, sweating, numbness. Score emotion intensity. 1 equals barely present. 10 equals overwhelming. Note the situation. Where, who, what was happening. Recognize your response pattern: crying, shutting down, lashing out. Make a plan for the next time. Use one grounding strategy. Take a short break or contact a trusted support person. These steps aren't instant fixes, but regular practice strengthens your ability to weather emotional storms, clearing the path for the deeper work of mindfulness and lasting change. If distress feels near impossible to manage, reaching out for professional support is always a safe and strong choice. Building emotional literacy through mindfulness. Emotional awareness begins with the smallest spark of curiosity, pausing just long enough to notice what is showing up in your body and mind. The stability offered by grounding techniques creates space for recognizing triggers, and now you have a steady ground from which to notice and work with emotions as they actually arise. Sometimes emotions storm in fast, especially when you have BPD, making it hard to even name what is happening inside. Mindful emotion labeling can help you slow the rush and put words to your feelings, becoming the bridge between simply surviving in a crisis and building lasting emotional balance. The RAIN method is a practical way to label and relate to emotions with mindful attention. The purpose here is to create space between you and an intense emotion, which gives more room to choose a response instead of just reacting. Begin with recognize. Notice and name what is here. For example, after an upsetting text from a friend, pause and ask, "What am I feeling right now?" You might label it as anger, sadness, or confusion. Next, allow the emotion. Tell yourself it is okay to feel angry right now. Then investigate by tuning into physical sensations, maybe a tight jaw, hot cheeks, or a rapid heartbeat. Finally, practice non-identity, reminding yourself, this anger is not all of who I am. It is a feeling passing through. One challenge with RAIN is feeling overwhelmed by the force of emotions. If this happens, focus on the breath and set a time limit, just a minute or two to start. Progress might look like catching yourself just before a reaction, or noticing even a second of distance between feeling and action. Remember, there is no rush. Each pause counts as growth. The emotion color wheel is another helpful tool. Its purpose is to go beyond basic words like sad or mad, expanding your vocabulary for feelings. Look at the wheel and pick a color that fits. Maybe your sadness is more like blue-green, signaling disappointment, or red-orange, pointing to jealousy. Imagine a workplace situation where a colleague's feedback leaves you unsettled. Ask, is this embarrassment, hurt, or anger? Where does it show up in my body? Maybe your stomach feels knotted, or your mind races with thoughts like, I am never good enough. Behaviorally, you might withdraw or overjustify yourself. Common challenges include struggling to pick a word or feeling self-judgment. In these moments, choose the closest word you can and remind yourself it is okay not to get it perfect. Progress appears when you notice emotions become easier to identify, or when you add new feeling words to your personal vocabulary. The body scan for emotional awareness turns mindful attention directly toward the body to locate where emotions live. Its purpose is to uncover hidden feelings and connect them to physical experience. Lying down or sitting comfortably, bring awareness to your body, moving slowly from head to toe. In a family conflict, for instance, you might notice a lump in your throat, a fluttery chest, or clenched fists. Label them as specific feelings, like hurt or fear. Typical thoughts might be, nobody understands me. You may feel the urge to leave or say something you do not mean. Challenges include losing focus or feeling disconnected at first. Try a stronger version by scanning your arms or chest or placing a gentle hand over the area of tension. Progress shines through when you start naming bodily sensations instead of just feeling tense or numb. Offer yourself compassion by saying, "These sensations are natural parts of emotion." The Emotional Weather Report helps you check in on your inner climate, like looking out a window to describe what is unfolding. The purpose is to name your emotional atmosphere without judgment. Social media, for example, might leave you feeling stormy, angry, exposed, sunny, content, connected, or foggy, confused, left out. You might notice your heart sinking after seeing a post or an urge to impulsively comment. Challenges include judging yourself for negative weather. Instead, practice speaking your emotions out loud, saying, "Right now, the weather is turbulent. That is okay." Over time, you will begin to notice patterns, what weather appears with certain triggers, and which self-care tools help. Mark progress not by eliminating storms, but by reporting your weather honestly and kindly. Through all these practices, keep safety in mind. Step away or distract yourself if emotions feel unmanageable, and revisit when ready. Adjust intensity by spending less time or focusing on just one sensation if needed. Celebrate progress, like noticing even a single emotion per day or labeling a hard-to-name feeling. Most importantly, treat yourself with gentle patience. This work is hard, and it is normal to stumble. Growth comes slowly, often in small steps. A simple daily exercise to try is to set a timer for 3 minutes. Close your eyes and ask yourself, "What am I feeling?" Name it. Notice where it is in your body and describe the weather, sunny, stormy, or somewhere in between. End by thanking yourself for showing up to this practice, one small step at a time. Establishing lasting emotional balance. Long-term emotional regulation develops gradually as layers of strategies build resilience. The foundation lies in creating a personal emotional regulation toolkit, tailored to capture the ups and downs of unique emotional patterns. By understanding which emotions surface most often, such as intense sadness after a friend's canceled plans or anxiety before a work meeting, readers begin mapping emotional triggers. Keeping a daily emotional tracking sheet can help spot these patterns. Recording when emotions spike, what set them off, and what helped, even a little, makes each feeling less confusing over time. Crafting a toolkit means exploring which coping strategies actually work. If grounding exercises or a brisk walk eases tension, they take a spot in the toolkit. Preventative practices might include scheduling regular check-ins with mood, setting reminders to pause and breathe, or preparing favorite calming activities ahead of stressful events. Establishing routines, such as a simple 5-minute reflection before bed, brings consistency. Many people with BPD find that maintenance is easier with routines that are gentle and flexible rather than rigid. When something does not work, it is not a failure, just another data point for fine-tuning. Obstacles come up, like forgetting to use the tracking sheet or losing motivation during difficult weeks. It can help to keep the toolkit visible, perhaps on a bulletin board or in a journal as a gentle reminder. Progress shows up in small ways, with fewer emotional shifts, easier recovery from setbacks, and growing familiarity into which strategies provide real relief. An example can show how this works. After a conflict with a family member sets off anger and hopelessness, taking 5 minutes to review the toolkit might reveal a pattern. Talking to a trusted friend and stepping outside recenters emotions. The toolkit grows more useful as patterns become clearer. On days when feelings are intense, it is okay to focus only on the basics, such as simple grounding or self-soothing. On steadier days, the toolkit becomes a resource for building new preventative habits. like personalized strategies. These personalized strategies weave emotional regulation seamlessly into daily life so that over time, strong feelings are met with practiced, reliable resources. The next layer involves relationship-based regulation, which recognizes that emotions and relationships are deeply connected. Building a supportive network starts with identifying safe people, including friends, family, or mentors who bring comfort. Using a support network mapping exercise clarifies who can be reached for a chat, advice, or simple presence. Communicating emotional needs is hard, especially when worries about being a burden flare up. Practicing simple phrases such as, "I am feeling overwhelmed and could use some company," helps make needs clear without over-explaining. Navigating triggering interactions, such as disagreements or criticism, gets easier with advanced planning. Choosing to pause before responding or having a go-to boundary statement like, "I need to take a break and return to this conversation later," prevents escalation. Boundaries are about protecting energy, not pushing people away. Many people fear that asking for space will lead to abandonment, yet clear boundaries actually support healthier relationships. Common obstacles include shame about asking for help or guilt after setting boundaries. One solution is writing out needs and boundaries in a note or journal first, making the words familiar and less charged when spoken aloud. Some markers of progress include feeling less drained after difficult conversations, noticing that needs are met more often, or being able to recover more quickly after a relational upset. Here is an everyday example. After an argument at home, the urge to send dozens of texts immediately can feel overwhelming. Instead, using the network map, a reader might reach out to a less involved friend for distraction or message someone for advice rather than seeking reassurance from the person involved in the conflict. Practicing these shifts with less intense relationships builds confidence for more difficult moments. These skills are not easy, and practice might feel awkward at first. Adapting for different intensities means seeking support for high distress and relying on lighter interactions, such as group chats or online forums for milder emotions. Finally, environmental regulation gives external structure that anchors emotions. Physical space can trigger or soothe. A cluttered room after a long day increases stress, while a few calming items, such as plants, favorite photos, or soft lighting, helps settle nerves. An environmental assessment tool can guide identifying what aspects of a space feel safe or overwhelming. Creating routines, including morning check-ins, workspace organization, or daily walks, adds predictability. Modifying trigger situations, such as limiting time in overwhelming settings or preparing an exit plan before events, makes strong emotions more manageable. Building a crisis prevention plan with a list of coping strategies and people to contact gives reassurance even before a crisis happens. Progress shows up when returning home feels comfortable instead of stressful, or when sticking to a calming morning routine sets the tone for the day. Environmental tweaks are powerful for managing workplace stress, disarming family triggers, and providing gentle guardrails through emotional storms. Adapting to environments might mean adding noise-canceling headphones, changing seating arrangements at work, or carrying grounding objects in a bag. Emotional regulation is built day by day. These layered strategies, including toolkit development, relationship support, and environmental adjustments, are long-term investments that make intense feelings less all-consuming and lead to lasting stability, even on the most difficult days. Final thoughts. Now that you have explored a variety of grounding techniques, learned to recognize your emotional triggers, and begun building a personalized toolkit, you are equipped to face intense feelings with greater calm and clarity. Developing these skills is a gradual journey, one that invites patience and self-compassion as you practice responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. With time, the moments of overwhelming distress can give way to steadier emotional balance, helping you feel more in control and connected to yourself and others. Remember, setbacks are part of growth, not failure, and seeking support when needed is a sign of strength. By continuing to build on these strategies, you open the door to lasting resilience and healthier relationships, moving one step closer to the peace and self-understanding you deserve. Chapter 4: Communication and Relationships. Maya found herself caught in a familiar cycle with her closest friend. One moment, she felt an intense bond, sharing secrets and laughter as if nothing could come between them. But almost without warning, a small comment or a missed message would send her spiraling into doubt and fear. She'd retreat, shutting down calls and avoiding texts for days, convinced that the friendship was slipping away. Yet deep inside, all she wanted was to feel safe and understood, to bridge the distance rather than widen it. These swings left her exhausted, confused, and wondering why connection sometimes felt so hard to hold on to. For many people, relationships can feel just like this: a push and pull between closeness and distance, trust and fear, and hope and hesitation. It is a delicate dance where feelings run high and uncertainty often takes center stage. Recognizing these rhythms is not easy, but it is the first step toward finding steadier ground. Understanding dynamics and navigating conflict patterns. Sometimes, a relationship can feel like a roller coaster, with deep connection one moment and distant the next. This push and pull dynamic is especially common when fear of being left or overwhelming feelings becomes central to how we connect. One day, you might find yourself sending dozens of messages to someone, desperate for reassurance and their attention. The very next day, you may feel suddenly suspicious or convinced they are not trustworthy, and you block them or withdraw completely. With a friend or family member, there might be times when you share everything, trust them fully, until a small misunderstanding triggers a powerful urge to shut them out without warning. These swings can leave everyone confused, hurt, and unsure of what is coming next. In these moments, drawing someone close feels like survival. If you can keep them near, maybe you will not end up alone. But feeling vulnerable, exposed, or misunderstood can become so uncomfortable that pushing them away feels safe, even if it creates pain or regret. The need for closeness and the fear of rejection bounce back and forth. Sometimes it is texting constantly and begging for comfort. Sometimes it is hanging up the phone or slamming a door to avoid feeling let down. These patterns can happen with partners, parents, siblings, or even close friends. Suddenly, someone seems perfect, the one person who truly understands you, until they make a small mistake or fail to meet an unspoken need, and the urge to protect yourself kicks in. Understanding the cycle. This cycle often forms because of difficult or painful past experiences. When people have felt abandoned, betrayed, or let down before, expecting the same pattern becomes second nature. If someone's earlier relationships were filled with instability or abrupt distance, being on guard becomes a way to feel more in control. Emotional swings, such as idolizing someone as the answer to all needs and then shifting to distant or anger overnight, happen because inner alarms go off without warning. These alarms are not a sign of weakness or failure, but of trying to stay safe in a world that has not always been predictable or kind. Over time, the push and pull dynamic can feel exhausting for both people. Loneliness creeps in after withdrawing, and regret shows up after impulsive actions. Sometimes the comfort of a loved one vanishes, replaced by uncertainty and guilt. These patterns are powerful, but they are not impossible to notice or shift. Recognizing push and pull patterns. Learning to see these patterns is the first step in understanding them. Small moments, such as feeling suddenly desperate for a response and then irritated and dismissive minutes later, are clues. When you can name these shifts, it becomes possible to slow them down. Pattern recognition exercise, tracing emotional swings. 1. Create a relationship timeline. Choose 3 relationships, such as a partner, friend, or family member, and jot down key moments where your feelings changed quickly or dramatically. List 3 relationships where you noticed big shifts in how you felt. For each, write down what seemed to trigger the change. Note your emotions before, during, and after each shift. Look for any patterns in when or why these moments happened. For example, after an argument, before a trip, or following a disappointment. Warning signs. If you start to feel overwhelmed or upset while remembering, pause and take a few deep breaths. You can return when ready. Self-reflection questions. Notice body and mind cues. 1. Tune into physical sensations. When you start feeling someone is perfect or suddenly untrustworthy, note any changes in your body. Do your muscles tense up, or do you feel butterflies? Is your heart racing, or do your hands get cold? 2. Track your thoughts. Write down the specific thoughts running through your mind during these emotional shifts, such as, they are going to leave, or I cannot trust them. 3. List your actions. Note what you do in each stage. Do you send lots of messages, or do you stay silent? 4. Impact awareness. How do these reactions affect your relationship in the next day or week? Warning signs. If exploring these questions feels too intense, you are allowed to stop. You can take a walk, drink water, or come back later. Action steps for change. Breaking the cycle gently. 1. Pause and breathe. When a wave of emotion comes, pause for 5 slow breaths before you react. 2. Reality testing questions. Ask yourself, do I have any proof that this person is planning to hurt me right now? Or what else might be going on? 3. Delay responses. If you feel the urge to block someone, wait 10 minutes before taking action. You can set a timer as a gentle reminder. 4. Practice self-soothing. Try grounding by feeling your feet on the floor, holding a warm mug, or listening to a calming song. Warning sign. If trying these steps increases stress, step away and take breaks as needed. Noticing the push and pull dynamic is a brave and important step toward making relationships feel more stable. These practical tools make it possible to sit with intense feelings while learning new ways of responding. Each small discovery helps build a foundation for better communication and greater self-understanding in all kinds of relationships. Developing assertive communication skills. Tense emotion and conflict cycles often leave people with BPD feeling trapped between saying too much or nothing at all. Emotions can feel too big to contain, while the push and pull of relationships make every word feel risky. Learning practical ways to express what you need without anger, blame, or shutting down breaks these old patterns and builds a sense of safety. Instead of reacting on impulse, assertive communication tools help you voice your feelings and needs in clear, respectful ways. The please method can be your anchor when emotions run high. You can use it when you start to feel overwhelmed, when you notice your pulse quickening, irritation rising, or a familiar urge to lash out or withdraw. Your steps are simple. Pause, listen, express, acknowledge, seek, engage. First, pause. Take a slow breath, unclench your hands, and notice your reaction. This moment can stop reactive words. Next, listen, both to your own feelings and to what the other person is trying to say, however clumsy it sounds. Express means saying how you feel and what you need, using calm words. Acknowledge the other person's experience. Seek common ground or support, even if it is small. Engage. Stay present and open rather than storming out or shutting down. For example, if a partner says, "You are so sensitive, I cannot talk to you," the internal pain might spark a surge of anger. Maybe the urge is to shout back or freeze up. The reactive response sounds like, maybe if you cared more, I would not have to be, or silence and tears. Using please, it might go, when you say I am too sensitive, I feel hurt because I want to be more understood. What I need is for both of us to feel safe sharing. Can we please try again? This keeps your needs clear and shows respect for both sides. It can feel awkward at first, and it may not bring instant resolution, but it opens a door. Watch for the urge to defend or attack, and practice pausing instead. Common stumbles include skipping the pause, unloading all feelings at once, or losing track of the other person's experience. Remind yourself there is no perfect script. Even saying, I am trying to use new tools and it is hard, invites understanding. A picture of your emotions helps you communicate what is happening inside. The emotion naming framework opens with, I feel emotion, because situation. It helps you pause and name your feelings before telling them. Use it when emotions get tangled and you are not sure what to say. I feel scared because I have not heard from you today, and I worry I am being forgotten. Say it before accusations begin. It is not easy to pause and identify sadness, fear, or longing when anger wants to start over. With practice, it feels more natural. If a family member brushes off your pain, the quick reaction might be, you do not care about me at all. Using emotional naming, try, I feel invisible because I do not feel heard. I really need to try to understand. Watch out for slipping into you always or you never. Stick to your emotions and the reason beneath it. Templates help. When situation, I feel emotion because need. What I need is request. Validating yourself by saying, this is hard and I am learning to speak up can reduce the pressure. Setting boundaries while feeling overwhelmed protects both you and the relationship. Using a boundary setting script when you notice old urges to sacrifice your needs or lash out to keep someone close. Start with, right now I need, followed by a clear boundary. For a friend asking for time you do not have, reactive words might be, fine, I will come, or why do you always ask me when I cannot? Instead, say, right now I need some space. I care about you and want to reconnect after I have rested. It shows your limits and your caring side together. Sometimes words feel blocked by fear of abandonment. A boundary script might be, I really want to support you, but I am feeling drained and I need to rest. Can we talk tomorrow? Practice saying this aloud. Acknowledge the fear and give yourself credit for trying. To reinforce these new habits, try the pause and speak exercise. Purpose. Practice pausing before responding and using a template to express feelings. Prepare. Identify 3 situations that triggered big emotions recently. Implementation. Replay each moment in your head. Visualize pausing, then use a chosen phrase to assert your need. Reflect. Notice what felt different. Did you feel the urge to react? Do you choose to pause? Mark progress when you catch the reactive impulse, even just for a second, and try a new approach. Noticing these small wins means you are building the foundation for trust and emotional safety, one honest conversation at a time. Strengthening trust and fostering healthy dialogue. Trust often feels fragile in relationships touched by BPD. While care and connection are deeply desired, fear and past wounds can get in the way. Concerns about being truly open, memories of broken promises, shifting inner worlds, and struggles with steady feelings can create invisible walls. Sometimes, intense emotions make it hard to trust that even a strong bond will hold. These challenges do not mean trust cannot grow. Instead, they are simply the starting point for building, brick by brick, a safe and honest connection. Trust-building barriers in BPD relationships. Fear of being open often shows up as hesitation to share real feelings or uncertainty about how personal truths will be received. You can stem from past relationships where honesty led to disappointment or pain. Sometimes memories of being left out or feeling alone in tough moments make it frightening to depend on others. Even in safe, loving bonds, these old fears may linger, making it tough to believe today's support will last. Shifting emotions can add another layer. Someone might feel close in one moment, but distant in the next, which can unsettle partners, friends, or family who long for steadiness. Unsure feelings might lead to second-guessing, testing, or pulling away to protect against hurt. Difficulty with object consistency, holding on to positive memories of someone when they are not around, or after disagreement can lead to sudden doubt or mistrust. Big emotions can play out as heated words or withdrawal. If an argument gets intense, even loving actions afterward might not fully restore faith. All these behaviors are real, but each presents an opening for new habits and connection to grow. Daily temperature check. Purpose: to support daily sharing of emotional states, making it safer to reveal feelings and build small moments of trust. Steps: set aside 5 minutes, ideally at the same time each day, in a quiet and comfortable space. Each person shares 3 words to describe their feelings. Example, romantic: I'm feeling hopeful, jittery, and cared for today. Family: today I feel nervous, tired, and grateful. Respond by repeating the other's words. You are feeling hopeful, jittery, and cared for. Thank you for telling me. Validate that naming feelings can be tough, and it's acceptable if they shift. End by thanking one another for sharing. Safety. Time limit: 5 minutes. Helps avoid overwhelm. Only share what feels safe. No pressure for deep details. Progress markers. Able to share honesty most days. Less anxiety around the daily check-in. Looking forward to the practice. Troubleshooting. If one person can't name feelings, offer options like calm, tense, or curious, or allow using gestures or color cards. Structured vulnerability exchange. Purpose: to gently practice giving and receiving trust by sharing a small hope, worry, or need. Steps: sit together in a comfy, distraction-free place once or twice a week. Each person chooses a sentence starter. I wish you knew. I need support with. When I feel trust, I notice. Partners listen closely, respond with thank you for sharing, and avoid fixing or judging. Switch roles. Offer validation. It's brave to be honest. Sharing means a lot to me. Boundaries. Agree not to bring up what's shared outside this time, unless both say it's okay. Modified for comfort. If talking is too hard, write notes or draw, then share and read silently. Progress. Increased comfort with sharing, noticing more respect for each other's truths. Small hands held or smiles after exchanges. Pause or support. If emotions spike, agree to a pause. Try deep breathing or hold a comforting object before resuming. Repair and reconnect protocol. Purpose: to help both parties reestablish trust after a disagreement or hurt. Steps: when both are calm, choose a familiar private space. Take turns describing one action in the conflict and its impact. When our talk got loud, I felt pushed away. Listen without interrupting. Repeat what was heard. You felt pushed away when our talk got loud. Each offers one gentle step to move forward together. Would you sit beside me for a minute? End with a positive action, a shared walk, favorite snack, or simple game. Environmental setup. Phones off. Use comforting items, blanket, warm drink, face each other. Emotional setup. Name a grounding strategy before starting. Feet on the floor. Hold a stone. Deep breathing. Progress and success. Apologies are felt. Tension reduces. And there is a willingness to try again. Small, steady steps count. Troubleshooting. If the exercise stirs big feelings, pause. Try splashing cold water, counting colors around the room, or stepping outside for air. Reflect together before attempting again. Sustaining trust and emotional safety. Consistent practice weaves small trust moments into daily life. A kind word, honoring boundaries, or showing up as promised. Progress grows in tiny steps. A smoother exchange, less fear before a check-in, and smiles even after tough talks. Both people are responsible. Both deserve validation. and both benefit when setbacks are met with understanding. Over time, celebrating every win, pausing when needed, and carrying forward a commitment to return to these exercises keeps trust alive and growing. Bringing it all together. Now that we have explored the complex push-pull of emotions, practical communication tools, and trust-building strategies, you are better equipped to navigate the ups and downs in your relationships with greater awareness and kindness. By noticing patterns, naming feelings, setting clear boundaries, and practicing honest sharing, it becomes possible to create safer connections even when fear or intensity feels overwhelming. Each small step you take toward pausing, expressing yourself calmly, and reaching out with openness builds a foundation of trust that supports healing and understanding. Remember, change takes time and patience, but with these skills, you can move forward toward relationships that feel more steady, respectful, and connected for yourself and those you care about. Chapter 5. Boundaries, Internal and External. I don't want to lose you, but I can't say no. Those words, whispered in frustration and fear, capture a struggle many know all too well. The push and pull between wanting closeness and needing space can feel like walking a tightrope without a safety net. For some, setting boundaries seems impossible. Often it is a risk that might fracture already fragile relationships or lead to painful loneliness. Yet living without limits doesn't bring freedom. It often brings confusion and exhaustion. Instead, saying no can become a battleground within. Just like in any conversation, when emotions run high and the boundary between self and others blurs. This chapter explores why boundaries sometimes feel so threatening and examines the delicate, vital work of finding balance within and around us. Why boundaries feel threatening and how to build internal boundaries. Growing up with big emotions and shifting ideas of who you are can make boundaries feel like invisible walls. For people with BPD, boundaries often seem unsafe or even dangerous. The urge to stay close to others mixes with a shaky notion of self, so simple actions like saying no or asking for space bring a rising tide of fear. Underneath, there is a worry that standing up for yourself will push people away, or that setting a limit means losing love completely. Even loved ones can feel puzzled, wondering why their friend or family member cannot just say what feels right or protect themselves from being hurt. Many people with BPD describe a life where the line between their needs and the needs of others grows fuzzy or disappears altogether. You might find yourself constantly agreeing to more tasks at work, even if you are exhausted, because it feels like saying no could spark anger or rejection. Or you may share deeply personal parts of yourself in an effort to feel closer to someone, only to later feel exposed or overwhelmed. Sometimes, someone's bad mood or stress seems to seep into you as if their feelings belong to you. Relationships can feel like a tug-of-war between disappearing into someone else's wishes and longing for your own space, but not knowing how to keep it. This tangle often has roots in childhood. For some, early relationships did not allow for safe limits, or saying, "this hurts," led to feeling guilty or abandoned. Over time, boundary confusion becomes a way to survive. Blending with others felt safer than risking conflict or loss. When identity feels like shifting sand, deciding where you and someone else begins is hard. If your sense of self changes depending on who you are with, setting a boundary can feel like picking a fight or risking being alone forever. It is important to recognize that these challenges are not character flaws or signs of weakness. They are understandable responses to uncertainty, overwhelm, and the need for connection. Difficulties with boundaries often serve an important purpose, helping you feel safe, loved, or needed when you do not have better options. This is true for loved ones watching, too. It is not about being manipulative or stubborn. It is about searching for safety in a way that once made sense. With practice, insight, and patience, new ways of relating are possible. Self-reflection exercise, mapping your boundary landscape. Start with a quiet moment, perhaps with a notebook and a comfortable space. Let yourself answer these questions honestly and gently, with no pressure to get it right. When was the last time you set a boundary, big or small? What happened? Have you ever agreed to something that felt wrong because you were afraid of upsetting someone? What do you notice in your body when you even think about saying no? Can you recall a time when someone crossed a line with you? How did you respond? How did you feel afterward? In which situation do you often feel guilty or anxious after expressing your needs? What are your earliest memories of someone telling you no, or you telling someone else no? As you answer, pause to notice if your heart races, your stomach clenches, or your throat gets tight. You might feel sadness, anger, or fear. If big feelings rise, remind yourself that it is okay to take breaks or write in small chunks. Try to spot patterns. Maybe you avoid conflict at work but explode at home. Recognize that these patterns often started as a way to protect yourself, not because there is something wrong with you. If this feels overwhelming, you can just pick one question to explore today. It is also okay to skip questions that feel too raw right now. Some insights you may discover include, I say yes even when I want to say no because I am scared of being left out, or I feel responsible for other people's moods. Each realization is a step forward. Journaling for identity and boundaries. Take a few minutes to think about where your beliefs about boundaries came from. Use the following prompts. Growing up, how did your family handle privacy, personal space, or disagreements? Were there examples of people standing up for themselves in healthy ways, or was it usually ignored or punished? How do you know when a boundary is needed? Do you notice your feelings get lost, or you start to feel resentful? What is an example of a healthy boundary, such as, I need to turn my phone off after 9 p.m. so I can sleep? What is an example of an unhealthy boundary, such as, I am never allowed to say no to my friends? What personal values matter most to you, like kindness, honesty, or freedom? How could these shape the boundaries you want to set? Heavy emotions might come up, including grief, confusion, or even anger. Allow yourself space. Take deep breaths. And remember, you can revisit this exercise anytime. If it feels too much, stick to recalling simple family rules about space or privacy. Insights may include, I learned early that saying no meant trouble, or my family praised me for always helping, even if I did not want to. Each awareness helps build your foundation. Understanding why boundaries are hard is not a reason to give up. It means you are learning more about yourself. These discoveries will help as you begin learning how to contain overwhelming feelings and practice new communication in the coming sections. For now, know that boundary struggles are part of a story rooted in survival, and there is hope for writing new chapters with more safety and clarity. Setting external boundaries respectfully. When someone is living with BPD, setting boundaries can feel risky, like stepping out on thin ice. Common moments include a coworker prying into your private life over lunch, a friend using your phone calls to unload their stress, or a family member asking questions about your treatment or emotions you would rather keep to yourself. Each situation leaves you with a choice. Allow an uncomfortable dynamic or speak up to protect your emotional space. Having scripts ready can help these moments feel less overwhelming. Here is a simple first step for small boundary-setting moments. Imagine an acquaintance keeps sharing stressful news with you when you are already feeling drained. You might use words like, I value our talks, but I am not in the right headspace to talk about hard things right now. Can we talk about something lighter? For a softer alternative, try, I want to support you, but I am feeling a bit off today. Would it be okay to keep it light for now? As you speak, Let your shoulders relax. Keep your hands visible but calm, and aim to meet their eyes gently, or focus on a neutral spot if direct eye contact feels too intense. During this conversation, remind yourself that it is okay to feel anxious and that it is not your job to fix others' feelings. As confidence grows, boundaries with closer friends may become necessary, especially if someone shares their pain without asking if you have the energy to listen. One way to respond is, I care about you, and I want to be there, but I need to pause this conversation for my own well-being. Alternatively, I hear that you are hurting. Right now, I am really overwhelmed, so I will need to step away for a bit. Keep your voice steady, speak at your normal volume, and plant your feet on the ground to help your body remain grounded. Notice your own emotions without judging them. If you feel guilt or panic creeping in, take a breath, acknowledge it, and refocus on your values for having the conversation. A helpful exercise is to use a boundary script template. What is the situation? What do I need? What is an honest, kind way to ask for it? What might they say, and how can I respond? What can I do to stay calm? Try a practice dialogue in a workplace scenario with an intrusive question. Thanks for checking in, but I would like to keep my work and home life separate. If they push back, you could say, I appreciate your interest, but I prefer to keep some things private. Thanks for understanding. If your anxiety rises, ground yourself by feeling your feet on the floor or slowly counting your breaths. Success is not perfection. It is communicating your need, even if your voice shakes. Moving through 3 core methods for setting boundaries helps you stay flexible, yet clear. Acknowledge, state, consequence. Step 1. Name the behavior. I know you want to help by offering advice. Step 2. State your boundary. I am not looking for advice right now. Step 3. Give a consequence if needed. If advice continues, I will need to take a break from this topic. Example. I see you are trying to help, but I am not looking for advice. I will need to pause this chat if it keeps coming up. If it feels too direct, try, I appreciate your care, and right now I just need someone to listen. If you feel unheard, breathe deeply and repeat your boundary once. A sign you have succeeded is feeling relieved or proud, even if the result is awkward. Feed, name, request. Step 1. Express your feeling. I am feeling overwhelmed. Step 2. State your need. I need a little space. Step 3. Make a direct, respectful request. Could you give me some quiet time? Example. I am pretty overwhelmed and need some space. Could we talk later? If the person resists, calmly restate your need and avoid raising your voice or apologizing for it. Validation comes from knowing you stayed present and honest, not from getting the perfect reaction. Appreciate, limit, alternative. Step 1. Show appreciation. Thank you for inviting me. Step 2. Name your limit. I cannot make it this time. Step 3. Offer another option. Let us catch up over coffee soon. Example. Thanks for including me, but I cannot attend. Would you like to meet up another day? This lets you stay connected while holding your limit. Common challenges for those with BPD include the urge to soften the message out of fear of rejection or second-guessing the boundary when someone pushes back. Practice self-soothing by using your senses to feel grounded, repeating a self-affirming phrase, or visualizing a safe place. Remind yourself that you deserve respect and flexibility. As you practice, track small successes. Did you state your need, even a little? Did you survive an awkward pause? Each boundary, however small, is progress. These tools work in everyday life and can be gently adapted for intimate relationships, laying the groundwork for more personal boundaries later. Boundary setting is not about walls, but about caring for yourself and giving others a chance to respect and understand you. Navigating boundaries in romantic and family contexts. A partner sits on the edge of the bed, exhausted, feeling shut out by emotional storms that come without warning. They desperately want to help, but every attempt leads to rising voices and slammed doors. In another home, a young adult closes their journal only to find their parent reading it, convinced they are acting out of love and concern, missing the crucial message about privacy. In a third relationship, fear claws at the heart. If you do not answer every message instantly, if you need time alone, the dread of being left behind triggers panicked calls and accusations, knocking fragile boundaries off balance. Each scenario brings up boundary pain points, emotional overload, loss of trust, and the aching need to feel both secure and free. When emotions flare, it is easy to overlook a crossed line or to justify actions out of fear or habit. The first step is recognition, pausing long enough to notice what feels wrong and naming the moment. Maybe your partner says, "I felt overwhelmed when you raised your voice during our argument and called me names." Or maybe you notice your own heart pounding after checking your loved one's phone, realizing you have crossed a line yourself. Responsibility follows, owning your part and releasing the urge to punish or shame yourself. "I see that I overacted. I see that I reacted out of panic," becomes, "I made a choice that hurt you. I want to make it right." Repair is next. Agree to a cooling off period if tempers are high. Use firm, kind language. "I need a moment to calm down, but I want to come back and finish this." Offer a specific plan, such as, "Let us talk in an hour," with no yelling. If privacy is the issue, sincerely apologize. "I should not have read your journal. Can I earn back your trust by respecting your space from now on?" Reinforcement anchors the change. Set a daily check-in or use safe words to pause conflict before it spirals. Over time, the goal becomes consistency, showing through actions, not just words, that boundaries matter. Boundaries in close relationships are complicated by intense emotions and old wounds. For people with BPD, fear of abandonment, or sudden swings between idolization and devaluation can explode minor incidents into crises. If you find yourself texting repeatedly after a partner asks for space, recognition means noticing the discomfort and labeling it. "Right now, I am afraid they will leave if I do not reach out." Responsibility means saying to yourself, "I cannot control their actions, but I can control what I do next." The repair might involve a message, such as, "I realize I crossed your boundary by messaging you after you asked for space. I am working on respecting that, and I hope you will let me know when you are ready." When family pushes you to talk about things you are not ready to share, practice a firm but gentle response. "I value our relationship, but I need privacy. I will let you know when I am ready." If the reaction is pushback, such as, "You never want to talk to me," pause, breathe, and reply, "I hear that you feel shut out, and I understand why that hurts. I also need my boundaries right now. We can find a way to stay close that feels safe for both of us." Exercise 1. The boundary temperature check. Each day, note how safe, respected, and connected you feel on a scale from 1, cold, boundaries trampled, to 10, warm, boundaries strong and mutual. Ask yourself, was there a moment today my boundaries felt shaky? Did I cross anyone else's line? If your temperature falls below 6, make a small repair through an apology, clarification, or time alone. Notice patterns over a week and adjust accordingly. Exercise 2. The Repair Conversation Blueprint. Before beginning, take 3 deep breaths. Remind yourself of your intention. I want to repair, not blame. Use phrases such as, "I notice," or, "When you did X, I felt Y." Offer repair. What can I do to help us move forward? If the other person becomes defensive, try saying, "I see this is hard. I am here when you are ready." If you feel triggered, ground yourself by pressing your feet to the ground, repeating a calming word, such as safe, or pause, or stepping outside for air. Exercise 3. The Boundary Maintenance Plan. Set up a weekly 10-minute check-in. Share one boundary that went well, one that needs support, and one goal for the next week. Track progress in a journal by counting the number of repairs made. and boundaries honored. If things slide, adjust by brainstorming 2 new strategies or calling on a support person. Activate your support network if you feel stuck. Let them know your boundaries and ask for accountability. Using precise language builds trust. I crossed a boundary, but it does not mean I am bad. I need time alone, and I still care about you. I am not ignoring you. I am caring for myself so I can be better with you. Measure success by counting peaceful conversations, boundaries stated and honored, and how often you pause before reacting. Internal boundaries form the core. When you respect your own feelings and choices, protecting external boundaries becomes easier, even in stormy moments. Through ongoing practice, deep connections become both safer and more resilient. Bringing it all together. Now that we understand why boundaries can feel so challenging, rooted in deep fears, past experiences, and the search for connection, we can begin to see boundary setting as an act of self-care rather than conflict. Recognizing these feelings as natural opens the door to gentle self-reflection, honest communication, and practicing new skills with patience. Whether it's learning to protect your inner world or speaking up respectfully with others, each small step builds a stronger sense of safety and self-worth. With ongoing effort and kindness toward yourself and those around you, boundaries become bridges to healthier relationships and greater emotional balance, offering hope for healing and a more peaceful way of living. Chapter 6. Managing Co-Occurring Challenges: Anxiety, Depression, PTSD, OCD. What happens when the feelings inside you aren't just one thing, but a tangled mix of fears, sadness, and restless thoughts? How do you make sense of emotions that pull you in different directions all at once, leaving you exhausted and unsure where to turn? If you've ever struggled with intense mood swings, overwhelming worries, or memories that haunt you, you might wonder how these parts of your experiences connect, and if there's a way to find calm amid the chaos. This chapter invites you to explore those questions gently, offering insight into what it means to face more than one challenge at the same time, and how understanding this overlap can open new paths toward healing and balance. Identifying comorbidity and managing anxiety symptoms. Life with multiple mental health conditions can feel complicated and exhausting. Understanding how borderline personality disorder, BPD, overlaps with anxiety, depression, PTSD, or OCD may seem like a puzzle, but this awareness unlocks practical ways to care for each part of your experience. Many people with BPD notice their emotions and behaviors connect closely with these other challenges. For example, intense fear of being abandoned can fuel constant worry and lead to powerful anxiety symptoms, or emotional pain may echo depression's heavy sadness. For some, memories of trauma bring flashbacks and sudden mood shifts, tying together BPD's emotional intensity with PTSD's haunting memories. If you have obsessive rituals, the urge to control or organize things may blend with BPD's need to feel safe in relationships and routines. Overlapping symptoms. Certain symptoms show up in more than one condition. This can make it tough to know what is actually causing the hardest moments. For example, a fight with a friend might trigger BPD's fear of rejection and anxiety's racing heart and thoughts. You might lie in bed for hours, weighed down by emptiness from depression, while your mind circles obsessively around things you wish you'd said, echoing symptoms of both BPD and OCD. Being able to tell these feelings apart helps you select coping tools that actually work. It's common to experience the following overlaps: emotional storms, BPD, that increases panic sensations, anxiety; fluctuating moods and sense of emptiness, BPD, paired with daily sadness and loss of interest, depression; trouble trusting others, jumpiness, or flashbacks, PTSD, that trigger even greater emotional intensity, BPD; repetitive checking, cleaning, or thoughts, OCD, interwoven with fears about being misunderstood or abandoned, BPD. Understanding these patterns is empowering. Recognizing which symptoms belong to which condition helps you respond kindly to yourself and choose more targeted support tools. For example, if you realize that your need to continually apologize after an argument is partially driven by BTD, fear of losing someone, and partly by OCD, urge to avoid a bad outcome, you can try different strategies for each feeling. Symptom mapping. Exercise, name, and purpose. Symptom mapping helps you untangle overlapping symptoms by sorting out which ones go with which condition. This makes your daily experience feel less chaotic and more manageable. Symptom tracking instructions. 1. List your symptoms or different feelings from the past few days. 2. For each symptom, add the condition you think it connects to BPD, anxiety, depression, PTSD, or OCD. 3. Highlight symptoms that show up in more than one category. 4. Next to each overlap, jot down how strong it was: mild, moderate, intense, what triggered it, and what made it better or worse. 5. Make a note of any coping strategies you tried and whether they worked. Example: symptom, sudden fear that my friend is upset with me. Condition, BPD, anxiety. Overlap, yes. Intensity, intense. Trigger, she didn't reply to my text. Coping, grounded by naming objects in the room, helped a little. Troubleshooting tips. If you are uncertain about what condition corresponds to a symptom, please make your best guess. Patterns will become apparent over time. If everything feels overwhelming, choose just one symptom to focus on. For blank entries, add a question mark to revisit later. Progress indicators. Fewer symptoms feel mysterious or scary. You see clearer patterns, what triggers what, and what strategies help. Safety guidelines. If mapping feels too intense, pause and practice basic breathing or grounding. Reach out for support if you notice suicidal thoughts or feel unsafe. Put safety first, always. Condition Response Guide. Exercise, name, and purpose. The Condition Response Guide helps break down which part of you is reacting in tough situations and matches the best coping tool to what you actually need. Steps. 1. Choose a recent situation that was challenging to handle. 2. Write down exactly what happened. 3. Break down your thoughts and emotions in the moment. 4. Name the main condition influencing your response: BPD, anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD. 5. Write down a coping strategy that targets that main condition. Example: situation, got critical feedback at work. Emotional response, heart pounding, I'll get fired, they don't like me, urge to lash out and quit. Main condition, BPD, fear of rejection, anxiety, panic. Coping tool, took a walk, texted a friend for reality check, helped lower anxiety, but BPD fear needed more reassurance. Troubleshooting tips. If it's tough to pick a primary condition, notice what stands out most. For very mixed feelings, try more than one coping skill and see what helps. Progress indicators. Sharper sense of which coping tools work for which mood. Faster at recognizing what's driving intense feelings. Safety guidelines. Pause when situations feel too raw. Use grounding techniques, like feeling your feet on the floor or naming colors around you. Building these skills brings more clarity and hope as you get better at recognizing overlapping experiences. Managing anxiety, grounding yourself, and coping with emotional intensity will feel more natural. With these foundations, you'll be better prepared for the next steps: exploring anxiety management, processing trauma memories, and lifting depression's fog in the chapters ahead. Healing from trauma in a safe, gradual way. Surviving trauma is hard for anyone, but for people with borderline personality disorder, BPD, Trauma processing can be especially overwhelming. The mix of heightened emotional sensitivity, fear of rejection, and a history of intense relationships means that reliving painful memories may quickly feel unmanageable. Sometimes, reflecting on past experiences may bring up strong feelings of shame, anger, or loneliness. It is important to remember that feeling this way is common, and that every step forward, even the small ones, counts. The key is safety, gentleness, and using practical tools to move at the right pace. Creating a trauma-safe environment. Physical and emotional safety create a foundation for all trauma processing. If feelings become too intense, having a secure environment and clear boundaries makes it easier to return to calmness. Safety Assessment Checklist. Is the space private and free from loud interruptions? Do you have comfort items nearby, such as soft lighting, blankets, or music? Is your phone within reach in case you want to call someone? Have you checked how you are feeling right now on a scale from 1 to 10? Exercise steps. Choose a place where you feel secure. This could be your bedroom, a cozy corner, or any space that feels comforting. Personalize your area with items that ground you, such as photos, scented candles if safe, or favorite books. Set an emotional boundary. Decide how much time you will spend reflecting. 10 minutes is enough to start. Let someone safe know you will be doing this exercise and if you want them to check in afterward. Grounding techniques. Squeeze a soft object or focus on the feeling of your feet on the floor. Name 5 things you can see or hear in your space. Use slow, even breathing, counting 4 counts in and 6 counts out. When to pause. If your distress rises above a 6 on a 10-point scale, or you start to feel disconnected or panicked, pause immediately. Reconnect to the present with grounding techniques, and consider contacting a support person or therapist. Example. Sam prepares by dimming the lights, bringing a soft pillow, and texting a friend that she is about to start. She decides 15 minutes is her maximum today. Emotional regulation checkpoints. Use DPT's Wise Mind skill. Pause and ask yourself, am I feeling too much, emotion mind, or too little, reason mind? Aim for balance before continuing. Adaptation strategies. If being alone is too difficult, do the exercise while on a video call with a trusted friend. Success means feeling slightly safer or less tense after setup, not how much you reflect. Building a sustainable self-care routine for trauma processing. Trauma work can quickly drain energy. A self-care routine helps manage exhaustion, instability, and the urge to avoid or rush through healing. Exercise steps. List 3 self-soothing activities, such as listening to gentle music, making tea, or using a weighted blanket. Schedule regular check-ins with yourself before, during, and after trauma reflection. Ask, do I feel safe enough to continue? Track your energy and mood with a simple journal or an app, noting what helps or makes things harder. Challenges for BPD. You might want to ignore self-care and push ahead, feeling like it is never enough. Remind yourself that pacing helps your brain relearn safety. Adaptation strategies. If energy is low, choose only one soothing activity and promise yourself time to rest before the next step. Success metrics. Mark on your tracker each time you use a self-soothing action or pause to assess your needs. Celebrate each act of self-kindness. Example. Taylor sets out a cup of herbal tea and sticky notes with reminders you can stop any time. Afterward, they listen to a favorite song. DBT skill. Please skills focus on addressing physical needs, such as eating, sleeping, and staying active as part of self-care. Gentle memory exploration with the container method. Vivid memories can bring up panic or the urge to disassociate. The container method lets you explore at your own pace, offering emotional structure and safety. Exercise steps. Imagine a strong box or container in your mind. When a memory surfaces, picture placing it inside the container. You can return to it when you feel ready. Spend a few minutes naming feelings such as sad, angry, or scared without judgment, then close the container. Grounding techniques. Press your hands together or name colors in the room if you feel yourself slipping away. Pause indicators. If the memory feels too sharp or distressing, step back and close the container. Return only when you feel calm again. Example: Alex writes about a memory for 3 minutes, places the paper in an actual box, and checks in with his body. Progress tracking. Use stickers or journal entries to mark each successful session, no matter how brief. Trauma work may stir up sadness or numbness. Feeling off is natural, even more so when living with BPD. Every pause, adaptation, and small act of caring is progress. Self-compassion and gentle pacing protects you from burnout and makes space for hope. Remember, exploring your story can be healing, but it is okay and essential to ask for support or rest whenever you need it. Reclaiming motivation and joy despite depression. Behavioral activation means doing small activities on purpose to lift your mood, even when you do not feel like it. Living with both BPD and depression can make this more complicated because emotions swing hard and motivation can crash quickly. The key is that even tiny actions done regularly helps your brain relearn that positive feelings are possible, even if only briefly. For those with BPD and depression, this method gently pushes through emotional fog without denying the reality of how tough that fog can be. It works because action and mood feed each other. Instead of waiting for motivation or happiness to appear first, you move even just a little, and the movement itself can change how you feel. For example, washing your face or changing your shirt might seem minor, but these count as victories, especially on hard days. Small wins can stack up. Making your bed might lead to texting a friend or stepping outside for a few breaths of fresh air. Sometimes, even these micro steps feel like climbing a mountain. On those days, it is normal if frustration or shame creeps in. The act of trying matters, not the outcome. When leaving the bed or brushing your hair does not lift your mood, it is okay to feel disappointed. Still, showing up for yourself each day is worth celebrating, no matter the size of your effort. Identifying values to fuel activity. When depression and BPD are both present, activities that usually bring meaning can feel empty or pointless. Value-based activity planning helps you reconnect with what matters most, even if only in short bursts. Values can feel distant during a depressive episode, and it is common to wonder if you have any at all. Start by thinking of moments, even brief ones, that have mattered deeply to you, perhaps showing kindness, creativity, honesty, or connection. Make a list of values that come to mind, even if it is just a word or two. Pick one value for the day, such as self-respect or connection. Then, brainstorm activities that match that value and fit your current energy level. If connection is your focus, but seeing someone feels impossible, try sending an emoji or watching a favorite show about friendship. On higher energy days, you might write a letter or meet up in person. Low motivation days call for smaller steps, like listening to music that brings back good feelings, or simply recalling a memory of being with someone you care for. When motivation crashes, recognize that any value-related action, even thinking kindly about yourself, counts. If your chosen activity feels too big, shrink it further. Intentional micro-actions are always successful when they bring you closer to what you care about, no matter how small. Activity, values, list, spark. Find a quiet spot or put on headphones with soft music. Write down 3 moments from your life that feel important. Circle one word that sums up each moment, such as kindness, humor, or honesty. Choose one value as your focus for the day. Write a simple action you could do in the next hour, no matter how small. Expected challenges, feeling blank or disconnected from your values, or thinking your values do not count. Adaptation options. Ask a supportive friend for ideas, use lists of common values online, or pick a value from a favorite book or movie character. Success indicators. Even naming one value or thinking of one related activity. Self-validation prompt. My values do not have to be loud. Quiet actions still mean I am taking care of myself. Breaking activities into micro steps and tracking progress. Managing routines with BPD's emotional storms requires breaking down activities into the tiniest possible pieces. Think of everything in steps so small they barely feel like effort. Instead of saying, take a shower, try turn on the water, then stand in the bathroom, then hold my towel. Each step is progress. Celebrate each completed step, not just the end goal. Reward systems help, but they need to fit your needs. Some people find joy in tangible rewards, such as stickers on a calendar, a favorite snack, or a few minutes with a comforting video. Others prefer gentle self-talk or sharing progress with a supportive community, even online. When emotional pain spikes, pause or switch to easier steps, like placing clothes near the bed for next time. If routines fall apart, restart without blaming yourself. Every new start is a sign of strength, not failure. Activity, micro-step builder. Pick one task you want to try, such as brushing your teeth. Break it into 5 tiny steps. For example, get up, walk to the bathroom, pick up the brush, put on toothpaste, brush for 10 seconds. Do just the first step and pause. Reward yourself, even if it is small. Repeat or stop if you need a break and return later. Expected challenges. Getting stuck after a step or feeling low when routines slip. Adaptation options. Keep steps even smaller. Reward yourself with soothing activities or ask a friend to cheer you on through text. Success indicators. Completing one step, regardless of order. Self-validation prompt. Every step I take is proof that I have not given up, even when it is hard. Enjoying life again takes time and compassion for yourself. Your best effort is enough. Final thoughts. Now that we have explored how borderline personality disorder often overlaps with other mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, PTSD, and OCD, you are better equipped to understand your feelings and reactions without feeling lost or overwhelmed. By learning to identify which symptoms belong to which condition and using tools like symptom mapping and condition response guides, you can choose coping strategies that truly fit your needs. Creating safe spaces for healing, pacing trauma work gently, and breaking down activities into small, manageable steps all help build a foundation of self-compassion and control. With these skills, you are not only managing today's struggles, but also preparing yourself for deeper healing and brighter moments ahead, showing courage in every step you take toward greater calm, clarity, and connection. Chapter 7. Creating a support system. Have you ever wondered who you can truly turn to when emotions feel overwhelming and life feels unstable? When is the right time to ask for help? And how do you decide whom to trust with your struggles? How do you balance sharing your experience with others while protecting your privacy and maintaining a sense of control? Building a support system can raise more questions than answers, especially when navigating feelings that are intense, confusing, or misunderstood. This chapter offers guidance on knowing when to seek professional help, involving loved ones in ways that are healthy for everyone, connecting with others who understand, and managing what you choose to share so you don't have to face this journey alone. Recognizing when to seek help and involving loved ones responsibly. Struggling with overwhelming feelings, intense mood swings, or rocky relationships can feel isolating. The idea of telling someone, especially a professional, about these struggles often leads to worries. Will they judge me? Will I seem weak? Do I really need therapy, or am I just overreacting? These thoughts are extremely common for people living with borderline personality disorder, BPD. The truth is that reaching out for help takes bravery, not weakness. Information from the internet or friends might bring comfort, but is not always enough. There is real value in professional support. It is different from leaning on a close friend or loved one, because therapists and clinicians bring training, structure, and proven methods designed to help, not just to listen. You might wonder how to recognize when it is time to seek professional help. Some signs include feeling unable to cope with daily life, experiencing frequent suicidal thoughts, self-harm urges, or spiraling conflicts with people you care about. If emotions feel so strong that they disrupt your work, sleep, or peace of mind, a professional can help you untangle these feelings. Further, if friends or family are struggling to give answers or feel overwhelmed themselves, this is a gentle signal that extra support is needed. Therapists have specialized tools to help manage BPD symptoms. Dialectical behavior therapy, DPT, was designed specifically for BPD. DBT teaches skills in 4 key areas: mindfulness, which means staying present in the moment; distress tolerance, which helps you handle tough moments without making things worse; emotional regulation, which involves understanding and managing strong feelings; and interpersonal effectiveness, which helps you communicate needs while maintaining relationships. In sessions, you might learn to use opposite action. For example, gently reaching out to a friend when you most want to isolate, or practicing grounding exercises to bring you back from the edge during emotional storms. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, is another well-supported treatment for BPD. ACT helps you notice and account uncomfortable thoughts and feelings rather than fighting with them. For example, a therapist might guide you through a mindfulness exercise. Notice the urge to self-criticize. Can you let it be there, just for a moment, without judging it or acting on it? You learn to identify your values, such as kindness or honesty, and commit to small actions that bring your life in line with those values, even during pain or stress. People with BPD often benefit from both approaches, but which treatment is best depends on personal needs. DBT is especially helpful if self-harm, intense mood changes, and relationship difficulties are major struggles. ACT might be more useful when you feel trapped in harsh self-judgments and have trouble moving toward meaningful life goals. Both help people feel more in control and reduce suffering. For many, a combination of both works best. Choosing a mental health professional starts with some research. Look for licensed therapists or psychologists experienced with BPD. Search online directories, ask your doctor for referrals, or contact local mental health centers. When you reach out, ask about their training. Do you have experience treating BPD? Or do you use therapies like DBT or ACT? Many therapists offer a short phone consultation first, which gives you a chance to see if you feel comfortable with their style. Before your first appointment, write down your main concerns and questions. What are the hardest moments you deal with? What do you want help with most? It is normal to feel nervous the first time. Therapists usually ask about your history, your goals, and how you have tried to cope so far. They will work with you, not against you. Insurance can sometimes cover therapy, but check with your provider to make sure the therapist is included. If cost is a barrier, look for community clinics, sliding scale fees, or online options. Many people with BPD carry a sense of shame or worry about being broken. Therapists are trained to work with these feelings carefully and respectfully. It can take time to trust someone with your story. One client shared, "I was terrified to start, but my therapist gave me space to go at my own pace. Over time, I learned to trust myself as much as I learned to trust her." For family members, therapists offer a guidance about how to support someone with BPD without enabling harmful patterns or burning out themselves. Imagine a therapy session. A client says, When I fight with my parents, I feel like I am out of control. The therapist helps pinpoint triggers, practice script writing for calmer responses, and set up check-ins with family members. This support does not just help the individual, it makes home life more stable. Family sessions may also be suggested, where loved ones learn communication tools, express emotions safely, and discover that progress is possible for everyone. Seeking professional help is not just about managing symptoms. It strengthens connections with others and with yourself. Guided by a caring expert, people with BPD can rebuild trust in relationships and learn ways to communicate more effectively, laying the groundwork for deeper family involvement and healthier support systems. Utilizing peer support, online groups, and journaling as supplemental tools. Finding the right support can make a big difference while living with borderline personality disorder, BPD. Many people start by looking into peer support groups. In-person BPD support groups provide a space where individuals meet with others who share similar experiences. These groups usually have a facilitator, sometimes a trained peer, who keeps the discussion on track and ensures everyone has a chance to speak. Hearing others talk openly about their struggles and progress helps people feel less alone. Some groups follow a structured approach, using worksheets or discussion guides, while others have open format meetings. Attending these peer groups allows people to share challenges and coping tactics and to practice social skills in a safe setting. For many, these group meetings become a routine that offers both accountability and comfort. Family members' support groups give close relatives a place to express their concerns and learn how to best help their loved ones with BPD. These groups address topics such as setting healthier boundaries, managing emotional stress, and supporting personal growth while maintaining self-care. Sometimes support groups for families are led by mental health professionals who provide specific advice. Group members often discuss how to respond effectively during difficult situations, such as when a loved one is in crisis, and how to nurture hope and patience. Both peer and family groups can be found through local mental health clinics, hospital programs, or community centers. Nonprofits such as the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, and the National Education Alliance for Borderline Personality Disorder, NEA-BPD, list support groups on their websites. Reading online reviews, checking group credentials, or asking a trusted clinician can help you find a reputable group that fits your needs. Online communities offer support outside regular meeting times and can work around busy schedules or transportation challenges. Moderated forums, such as Reddit's BPD communities or specific mental health websites, allow people to read and respond to topics without revealing their identity. Social media support groups on Facebook or Discord bring together people from all over the world, creating connections and sharing resources. Mental health apps such as DBT, Diary Card, or MoodFit include journaling tools, progress tracking, and safe spaces to discuss experiences anonymously. Before joining or posting in any online community, it is important to check the rules and moderation standards. Choose groups that have active moderators, clear guidelines, and zero tolerance for bullying or misinformation. Protect your privacy by using a nickname or alias, avoiding detailed personal information, and being mindful of online boundaries. If you read something that feels overwhelming, it can help to step away and take a break. Remember, not everything posted online comes from professionals, so balance peer advice with input from treatment providers. Journaling provides a private space to record thoughts, emotions, and events. Different journaling methods work for different people. Emotion tracking involves noting feelings throughout the day, sometimes using color codes or numbers. Gratitude journaling focuses on writing down things, big or small, that brought some brightness to the day. Thought records help recognize patterns in thinking, usually by filling out a structured sheet with an event, thoughts, feelings, and alternative perspectives. Building a journaling habit is not about writing perfect sentences. Set a reminder to write at the same time each day. Keep journal tools easy to reach, such as a notebook by the bed or a digital app on your phone. Sharing journal entries with a therapist can open up new topics in sessions or clarify patterns you might otherwise miss. Prompts like, "What was the hardest part of today?" and "How did I respond?" or "What thoughts repeated most frequently this week?" can make starting easier. Combining these strategies works best with a gentle, flexible plan. Create a weekly support schedule by blocking time for each resource, such as attending one group meeting, spending time in an online forum twice, and writing in your journal before bed. Balance is key. If in person, groups feel draining, rely more on journaling and online chat that week. Sometimes connecting with other families is most helpful when feeling isolated, while soul journaling is perfect for processing intense emotions. Set reliable expectations. No single support method solves everything. It might take a few tries to find what fits. For example, Emma felt hesitant to speak in group meetings, but kept attending and gradually offered small comments. She also kept a gratitude journal, which lifted her spirits on tough days. Her sister joined a family support group and learned how to avoid escalating judgments while focusing on active listening instead. Facing obstacles is part of the process. Transportation troubles can make in-person meetings impossible, but online options fill the gap. If privacy is a concern, choose anonymous apps. For those who struggle to start new habits, ask a friend or family member to join as an accountability buddy. All these supports complement professional treatment. They nurture a sense of independence while reminding you that growth often means reaching out and accepting help, even on days when it feels difficult. Navigating disclosure and protecting your privacy. Deciding to share a borderline personality disorder, BPD, diagnosis can be a deeply personal and sometimes stressful process. Not everyone has to know about your diagnosis, and it is completely your decision if, when, and how to share this information. The journey often begins with reflecting on your comfort level and sense of safety when revealing personal information. Some people might feel ready to talk openly, while others may prefer to keep their diagnosis private or limited to trusted individuals. It can help to ask yourself, what do you need from the conversation? Are you seeking support, understanding, or simply wanting someone to know? Recognizing your readiness is an important first step. Trust plays an important role in identifying potential confidants. Whether you are considering a close friend, a romantic partner, a colleague, or a family member, think about their reliability, maturity, and past reactions to sensitive topics. It is natural to worry about being misunderstood or judged. Some people find it helpful to make a list of those who have supported them with other private matters and consider whether these qualities might carry over when sharing news about BPD. Sometimes sharing first with a therapist or support group can be a way to practice or gauge how much to reveal elsewhere. Relationships, both personal and professional, can change when mental health is discussed. In the workplace, it helps to weigh the advantages against possible risks. If your workplace offers mental health accommodations or you need adjustments in your schedule, disclosure might be necessary. However, not all environments are equally supportive. Some workplaces maintain strict confidentiality, while others may not. If you do choose to disclose at work, keeping information focused on how adjustments can help your job performance rather than on personal details can be an effective strategy. A simple statement such as, "I am working through a mental health condition and may need occasional flexibility," keeps the message clear and concise. Romantic relationships present another layer of vulnerability. When starting a new relationship, there is no rule that says you must disclose your diagnosis immediately. You might decide to wait until trust is established or after observing how your partner handles emotional conversations in general. Sharing your experience could sound like this. I have a mental health condition called borderline personality disorder. It affects how I handle emotions and relationships, but I work hard to manage it. I wanted you to know because I trust you and value your honesty. Sharing at your own pace ensures you maintain control over your story. Family conversations about BPD can bring a range of reactions. Some loved ones may feel confused or have misconceptions. It can help to offer brief explanations or resources while also stating what kind of support you need, whether emotional understanding, privacy, or simply someone to listen. If family members ask inappropriate questions or make inaccurate statements, calm redirection helps set boundaries. For example, you might say, "I appreciate that you care, but I do not feel comfortable discussing this right now." Or, "Let us stick to what I feel okay sharing." These approaches reinforce your comfort and privacy. Social media presents unique disclosure challenges. While sharing online might attract support from others with similar experiences, it can also expose you to potential judgment or stigma from a broader audience. Consider the difference between private conversations and public posts. Adjust your privacy settings, select friends carefully, and remember that you do not owe explanations or details to anyone. When faced with inappropriate questions or comments, short responses or simply ignoring them can serve as effective boundaries. For example, you might say, "I am not comfortable answering that," or "that is personal." Protecting your privacy and maintaining your boundaries is always your right. If someone shares your diagnosis without permission, allow yourself to feel upset and consider what actions you would like to take. You might clarify facts with those who heard the disclosure, restate your wishes for privacy, or seek support from someone you trust. Recognize that regaining control over your story is possible, even after a breach. There is no universal approach to disclosure. Decision-making frameworks, such as weighing the potential benefits and risks, identifying what you want from sharing, and mapping possible outcomes, can help guide your choices. Rehearse conversations, set clear boundaries beforehand, and adjust your plans if needed. Trust your instincts. It is healthy to hesitate or change your mind. Your privacy, safety, and comfort come first. Empower yourself to move at your own pace, knowing that you are not required to reveal more than you want to anyone at any time. Bringing it all together. Now that we understand the importance of building a strong support system, whether through professional help, trusted loved ones, peer connections, or personal tools like journaling, we can move forward with greater confidence and hope. Recognizing when to reach out, choosing who to trust with your story, and protecting your privacy are all steps toward reclaiming control over your life and emotions. With patience and care, these supports create a foundation for healing, helping you navigate challenges with more calm and connection. Remember, growth is a journey that involves reaching out as much as looking within, and every small step taken to build your support system brings you closer to the peace and understanding you deserve. Chapter 8. Moving Forward with Strength and Self-Respect. "I feel like I am losing myself every time my emotions take over," she whispered, her voice heavy with exhaustion. He nodded quietly, unsure how to offer comfort without sounding dismissive. They both knew the diagnosis, borderline personality disorder, but the label felt less like an explanation and more like a cage. In moments like these, it is easy to forget that there is a person beneath the struggle, someone with strengths, hopes, and values that do not disappear in the face of intense feelings or turbulent days. Many who live with emotional ups and downs wrestle not only with their symptoms, but also with the fear that they are defined by them. Loved ones often stand on the sidelines, wanting to help, but feeling lost when the behavior seems unpredictable or overwhelming. The challenge is not only managing emotions, but uncovering who they truly are beyond those moments, their worth, resilience, and the everyday choices that shape a life of meaning. This is not about perfection or quick fixes. It is about recognizing that progress is not a straight path and that strength can grow even in the middle of uncertainty. When the world feels chaotic, holding on to senses of self can seem impossible, yet each day offers chances to notice small victories, to practice kindness toward yourself, and to connect with what matters most inside. Whether you're walking this path personally or standing alongside someone you care about, the journey often begins by looking beyond judgments and labels toward a fuller understanding of identity and growth. Redefining identity and embracing nonlinear progress. Sometimes it can feel as though a diagnosis is a label that explains everything about a person. Being told you have borderline personality disorder, BPD, can bring some relief. Finally, there is a name for what you feel, yet that name can also start to feel like a box. You might worry that this diagnosis erases everything else about you. Others might treat you differently once they learn you have BPD, wrongly believing that this label captures your entire identity. But having BPD traits is not the same as being defined by them. Each person is made of many parts, including values, interests, skills, hopes, and quirks that stretch far beyond any single diagnosis. Learning to see yourself or a loved one as more than a diagnosis is a key step toward building self-worth. A label can help clarify what you are dealing with and open up support or resources, but it cannot measure your full potential as a person. For example, someone might say, "I struggle with intense emotions because of BPD." Yet that same person is also a caring friend, a talented artist, or a thoughtful partner. The diagnosis describes some challenges you face, but it does not define your dreams, your kindness, or your ability to change over time. Many people mistakenly believe that a diagnosis is the most important fact about a person. In reality, your individuality shines through in countless ways. You might enjoy quiet mornings, have a passion for music, or love animals. Your strengths may include creativity, humor, loyalty, or curiosity. None of these positive traits are erased by a diagnosis. Even some BPD traits, like deep emotional sensitivity, can be powerful assets. For example, being highly attuned to feelings can lead to genuine empathy for others, making you an excellent listener and a supportive friend. It helps to notice achievements that have nothing to do with managing mental health. Did you help a neighbor, finish a tricky project at work, practice patience with a loved one, make a stranger smile? All of these are victories that reflect who you are. Recognizing these moments builds confidence and separates your sense of self from any diagnosis. Exploring who you are outside of your symptoms can be both freeing and illuminating. Spend time thinking about what matters most to you. What are your personal values? Maybe you value honesty, compassion, adventure, or loyalty. Try writing down a list of your core strengths. Are you persistent, generous, creative, or funny? Notice which relationships allow you to feel safe and authentic. These are the connections where the real you shines brightest, without fear of judgment. You might also keep a journal to track small moments each day that made you proud, helped someone else, or brought you joy. Over time, you will see patterns that highlight your unique identity beyond your mental health. Here are a few simple exercises to help draw your focus away from your diagnosis and toward the rest of your identity. Write a list of 5 personal values you want to live by. Identify 3 core strengths that have nothing to do with mental health. Name 2 people or relationships where you feel most like yourself. Recall an achievement from the past week that made you feel proud, no matter how small. Real-world situations show the difference between being your diagnosis and being yourself. At work, you might feel anxious about how colleagues view you, especially if they know about your BPD. Instead of letting that concern define your worth, focus on the skills you bring to your role, such as reliability, creativity, and strong communication. In friendships or romantic relationships, remind yourself that you bring unique qualities like warmth, humor, and loyalty. If self-critical thoughts creep in, counter them gently by reminding yourself, "I am more than my struggles." Stigma, both from others and from within, can be one of the hardest hurdles. Sometimes, judgment from others can feel harsh and unfair. In those moments, practice a phrase you can repeat to yourself, such as, Their misunderstanding does not change my value. If you catch yourself absorbing negative stereotypes, challenge those thoughts the way you would stick up for a friend. Choose to protect your self-respect, and remember that you are always more than what is written in a file or spoken as a diagnosis. Embracing who you are as a full, multidimensional person naturally builds emotional resilience. Self-acceptance grows stronger when you are kind to yourself. Celebrate your progress and make space for all the parts of your identity. Healing is rarely a straight line. There are days that feel hard and days that bring hope. Through it all, your uniqueness, strengths, and self-worth remain, inviting personal growth and making healing not just possible, but meaningful. Building emotional resilience through daily habits. Daily routines ground days that feel unstable, especially if you live with BPD or struggle with intense emotions. Habits do not fix the ups and downs overnight, but each consistent practice offers a little more steadiness. When every day can feel different, routines create a safe structure. They also give you something solid to return to during periods of emotional chaos. Sticking with habits is hard on tough days, and it is okay if things are not perfect. The goal is not to pass a test, but to build tools you can reach for, one small choice at a time. Morning mindfulness routine. Building resilience often starts as soon as you wake. A 5 to 10 minute mindfulness routine helps set a calm tone and prepare your mind for the day. Begin by sitting or lying quietly, closing your eyes if that feels safe. Inhale for a count of 4, then exhale for a count of 6, repeating for 10 breaths. Next, scan your body from head to toe, noticing and naming sensations without trying to change them. Finally, watch your thoughts float by like clouds, gently bringing your attention back whenever you get distracted. On high distress mornings, let the whole routine last only 2 minutes, just focusing on feeling your breath in your chest or hands. When anxiety hits before work, even a brief body scan helps slow racing thoughts. If you are feeling numb or overloaded, place a hand over your heart and focus on its warmth. Miss a day? That is part of real life. Pick up where you left off the next morning, even if you start small. Signs of success include feeling a little more centered in the morning, noticing more space between intense thoughts, or carrying a sense of calm into your first daily interactions. Emotional tracking system. Emotions can seem overwhelming until you break them down. Keeping a daily log, digital or in a notebook, helps spot patterns and build self-awareness. After breakfast or before bed, rate your main emotion from 1, calm, to 10, overwhelmed. Jot down any strong triggers that come up and a quick note about how you responded. With time, you will notice patterns, maybe irritability spikes after little sleep or anxiety rises with certain texts. If writing feels like too much, use a mood app or simply check off your rating on a printed chart. When a sudden trigger hits in the middle of your day, such as a stressful email or a fight with a friend, grab your system and rate the spike. Even one line counts. On days where fatigue is high, choose a simple emoji or color code. Improvement shows up when patterns become easier to spot and reactions start to make more sense, even if emotions remain intense. You might catch yourself thinking, I have been here before. I know a little more about what helps. Physical wellness anchors. Bodies and minds stay closely linked. Sleep, movement, and nutrition routines support steadier moods and soften emotional spikes. Try setting a regular sleep schedule, even if you aim for the same 30-minute bedtime window most nights. Gentle movement, like stretching or a slow walk, is enough on low-energy days. Higher energy calls for dance, cycling, or sport. Eat at regular times, aiming for protein and fiber with each meal to avoid blood sugar swings. When stress feels physical, practice grounding by standing with both feet on the floor, pressing your palms together, or splashing cold water on your face. Say you have had barely any sleep and face a high-pressure day. The anchor might just be 10 minutes, resting with your eyes closed at lunch. On a better day, it could be a brisk walk after dinner. For days when eating is a struggle, Keep easy snacks nearby, like nuts or fruit. Success means tracking even small improvements, such as falling asleep faster, feeling less jumpy after eating, or experiencing fewer physical symptoms during high stress. Social connection practices. Loneliness and misunderstandings can trigger big emotions. Start each day by sending one text, making eye contact with a neighbor, or simply nodding at a coworker. Check in with a support person weekly, even if you just share a meme. Maintain boundaries gently by using a script like, "I need a little time to myself, but I care about you, and we'll check in soon." When conversation feels overwhelming, write down your feelings to share later, or use messaging instead of in-person talks. During a conflict with a friend, pause and use your emotion tracking to check your own feelings first. If you feel overloaded, it is okay to step back. Living with roommates or a little privacy, use headphones for space or choose public places for supportive calls. Progress shows in more honest communication, less regret after arguments, and a sense that you are showing up for yourself in social situations. Every daily habit, practiced imperfectly yet persistently, lays the groundwork for choosing what matters most to you. By practicing these routines, however messy or modified, emotional steadiness grows, creating the room to live life guided by personal values rather than reactions. Living authentically beyond symptom management. It is easy for reactions to feel like the only choices when emotions run high. BPD symptoms can pull thoughts in many directions, creating urges to push others away, chase approval, or act on impulses. These urges do not stem from who you truly are, but from patterns shaped by pain or fear. In contrast, values-based choices come from a deep sense of what matters most to you, not from a wish to escape uncomfortable feelings or please someone else. When you make decisions rooted in your values, such as honesty, kindness, or growth, you are building a life that feels true, even when symptoms become loud. Imagine you are in a tense argument with a loved one. The urge might be to withdraw completely, convinced you will just get hurt. This is a symptom-driven reaction, but if respect and connection are core values, you may pause, breathe, and replay calmly, even if it is difficult, or consider work. The impulse to overwork and demand perfection may come from the anxiety of not being enough. Your real value might be creativity or learning, which allows you to set healthy boundaries with work and accept mistakes as part of growth. A simple exercise can help clarify these differences and anchor your decisions, especially when emotions feel overwhelming. Values discovery exercise. Self-reflection questions. When have I felt proud of myself? What makes me feel at peace or alive? In my relationships, what do I wish for and what do I want to avoid? When I act with fear or distress, what am I trying to protect myself from? Whose approval am I seeking when I make certain choices? Taking a moment to answer these questions honestly can reveal what is deeply important and where symptom-driven habits appear. Value identification process. Review your answers and list values that come up in key life areas. Relationships, trust, respect, loyalty, kindness. Personal growth, learning, honesty, self-compassion. Work, integrity, creativity, teamwork. Leisure, exploration, rest, spontaneity. Look for patterns. Notice where your values reflect your true self versus where they echo fears. For example, always putting others' needs first might be a people-pleasing survival skill rather than a real value. Authentic values feel energizing, steadying, and meaningful, even if they sometimes lead to hard choices. Action planning steps. Select your top 3 to 5 core values from your list. Write one thing you can do for each value, no matter how small. For example, for kindness, send a supportive message to a friend. Think of situations where you tend to react impulsively and write down which value you want to guide your behavior next time. Implementation strategies. Place your values list somewhere visible. Check in with yourself by asking, is this action being guided by my value or by fear? Plan small rituals that help you return to your values in stressful moments, such as pausing to breathe or journaling for 5 minutes. Values to action planning template. Top 3 to 5 values. For example, honesty, creativity, self-care. Related behaviors. Speak the truth even when nervous. Schedule time for art. Maintain bedtime routines. Measurable goals. Initiate 1 honest conversation per week. Create 1 drawing every Saturday. Go to bed before midnight 5 nights a week. Coping strategies. When anxiety rises, pause and affirm your value by saying, honesty matters more than approval. Reach out for support before acting from old habits. Handling voice conflict, a practice. When BPD symptoms clash with your values, such as wanting closeness but fearing abandonment, use this approach. Recognize symptom-driven thoughts, such as, I should cut everyone off before they leave me. Pause and notice the emotion in your body, perhaps a tight chest or rapid heartbeat. Mindfully reflect on what value is at stake. Maybe it is honesty or self-respect. Apply value-based reasoning by asking what action would honor this value, even if it is uncomfortable now. Accept setbacks. Keep a journal where you record what worked or did not, without judgment. Each step strengthens your sense of agency. Here is how this works in real life. You feel guilty for taking a weekend to rest instead of helping everyone else. Guilt is loud, but your real value might be self-care or balance. You stick with your plan. Remind yourself that rest is not selfish, and gradually discover that life feels steadier. Another example, you set a boundary with a partner and anxiety surges. You remind yourself that mutual respect is a value you want to live by, even when fear feels strong. By returning again and again to what matters most to you, not what symptoms or past pain dictate, you create a more stable and meaningful path forward. Living from your values is not about being perfect or symptom-free. It is about choosing self-respect, honoring your growth, and turning everyday moments into opportunities to express your truest self. This approach weaves together everything you have practiced: resilience, nonlinear progress, and an identity that is valid, whole, and far bigger than your diagnosis. Bringing it all together. Now that you have explored how to separate your identity from a diagnosis, build daily habits that foster emotional resilience, and make choices guided by your deepest values, you are better equipped to navigate life's challenges with greater self-worth and authenticity. Remember, healing is not a straight path, but a journey of small steps, where each moment of self-compassion and intentional action strengthens your sense of who you truly are beyond any struggle. By embracing your unique strengths and living according to what matters most, you can create a steady foundation for growth, connection, and peace, even when emotions feel overwhelming. Keep returning to these practices as tools that support you in becoming the person you want to be, grounded in resilience and empowered by your own authentic voice. Conclusion. As you close this book, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the journey you have taken through these pages and through your own life. It is not an easy path to walk, and if you have recognized yourself in these chapters or seen someone you love reflected here, then you have already displayed enormous courage. The world rarely understands what it means to experience intense emotions on a daily basis, to feel both too much and not enough in the space of a heartbeat. You may have been labeled difficult, dramatic, or broken. This book exists for you, to affirm what you may have barely dared to hope. You are not broken. You never were. What you have learned here is not a list of fixes or a set of rigid rules to follow. Instead, you have explored a new way of relating to yourself and those around you with compassion, honesty, and curiosity. Whether you live with borderline personality disorder, resonate with similar struggles, or care deeply about someone who does, the message at the heart of this book remains unchanged. You can begin again every single day. Perhaps as you read, you remembered moments that felt overwhelming, emotions like tidal waves, panic at the threat of abandonment, or relationships that swung between closeness and distance. Maybe you revisited difficult memories or wondered why things that seem easy for others feel impossibly hard for you. If so, I invite you to look back with gentleness, not shame. Emotional intensity is not a flaw. It is part of being fully human. Where others turn away from pain, you have faced it directly. That requires bravery most people never realize. If you have tried therapy, especially dialectical behavior therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, it might feel like a lot to remember. Worksheets, acronyms, new habits. It is easy to get lost in the details and lose faith when things do not change fast enough. Maybe you have even felt let down because the relief promised was slow to arrive or did not last. Let this be evidence of your persistence, not your failure. Growth takes time, and there is no finish line you must cross to prove your worth. Progress is not measured by perfect emotional control or unshakable confidence. It shows up in small acts: the pause before reacting, the courage to ask for help, the willingness to apologize, the ability to stay instead of running away. Sometimes you may doubt whether change is possible at all. You may have heard the voices, internal or external, that say you cannot get better or that stable relationships are out of reach. But over and over, research, lived experience, and countless recoveries prove otherwise. People living with BPD, emotional intensity, or relational traumas absolutely can and do build lives filled with meaning, connection, and peace. There will be setbacks, but they do not erase your capacity for healing. They simply show you where you need a little more patience and support. If you are reading this book as a partner, parent, friend, or family member, your presence matters. You may have struggled to make sense of outbursts, shifting closeness, or desperate pleas for reassurance. Understanding the patterns described in this book does not mean excusing hurtful behavior. It means learning how to respond in a way that preserves dignity for both of you. Healthy boundaries, clear communication, and empathy are tools, not weapons. As much as your loved one needs compassion, you deserve it too. Holding space for someone else's pain is only possible if you also tend to your own. Whether you live with BPD traits or support someone who does, you have discovered ways to manage emotional storms without judgment. You have practiced grounding, focusing on what you can control, and letting go of impossible standards. These are not just coping skills. They are building blocks for a more loving relationship with yourself and more sustainable connections with others. Maybe it still feels unnatural or awkward. Maybe you stumble more often than you would like. That is okay. Emotional growth is not linear. Every attempt matters. Every effort lays the groundwork for something stronger. You may still wrestle with shame, those old tapes that whisper you are too much, needy, or fundamentally flawed. The truth is far kinder. You are worthy of care, stability, and healthy relationships right now, as you are. No diagnosis or difficult history makes you any less deserving. Self-acceptance is not permission to stop growing, but an invitation to grow from a place of wholeness, not lack. When you practice self-compassion, you slowly rewrite your life story. Your struggles become part of your resilience, not evidence against it. This process will require ongoing support. You might continue working with a therapist, join a peer group, or lean on friends who truly see you. Support can also come from within through journaling, self-reflection, or revisiting the exercises in these pages whenever you need them. Some days you will need reminders that you are not alone. Other days, you will offer that hope to someone else. Healing is a shared journey, and there is wisdom in asking for help. If you are reading this and feeling overwhelmed, remember that change does not happen all at once. You do not have to fix everything or become some ideal version of yourself to find peace. Focus on the next step, not the whole staircase. Begin again today, tomorrow, and as many times as you need. Each day offers a chance to choose a small act of kindness toward yourself, to gently challenge a limiting belief, or to reach out instead of withdrawing. Over time, these choices add up. What feels impossible today may become second nature months from now. The world needs people like you, sensitive, empathetic, and persistent. Traits often judged as weakness can become sources of strength. When you bravely share your feelings or advocate for your needs, you remind others that vulnerability is not something to hide, but something to honor. In relationships, your insight can foster deep understanding, creativity, and loyalty. Your journey does not have to conform to anyone else's timeline or expectations. Progress is personal, and so is healing. There will be days when big emotions roll in unexpectedly. There may be setbacks, misunderstandings, or moments when it feels like nothing has changed. On those days, return to the practices that ground you. Breathe, pause, and remember that each emotion is a wave that will pass. You have made it this far, and you can keep going. Celebrate progress, however small. As you move forward, carry these truths with you. You are not defined by your hardest moments. You are not broken. Healing is always possible, even if it looks different than you imagined. You belong, not because you are fixed, but because you are human. Every day is a new opportunity to begin again, to learn, and to connect. Thank you for trusting yourself enough to seek understanding and growth. Thank you for choosing gentleness when criticism feels easier, and for reaching toward hope when the future seems uncertain. Wherever you are in this journey, know that you are seen, valued, and capable of creating a life that feels worth living. So as you close this book, let it be the beginning, not an end. May you walk forward, knowing that change is possible, support is real, and your story is far from over. Begin again every day. You are not broken.